That's up to everyone. That's two sisters so far.
Peace.
Peace, Empress.
Reading, everybody. Readings.
Peace.
Let's get a little track on before we start the show. Let's give everyone time to come in. You know, we do it every strong. So Islam. Everyone is a beautiful strong. Hope everyone is a beautiful strong.
All is well.
Come on, dude. Get this track on. Alright, so everyone is a listener. Alright, so to everyone is a listener. Peace and love to you all. So let's get in this chat on.
Sending these papers, I could be sovereign and free like folks in King Henry. Sipping on Henry and kids' faces, no matter the place. On her search, didn't tell me that birth is ERGH, bottomry benefits of instruments in case things go bad. Gave me this number. I can't get through since he gave this number. Right now I'm pissed off, we'll bring this wrist off. Dirty boys got me wanna cut lips off and teeth chipped off. Dirty feet using me to go through windows. Probably took my Fiat and bought Indo and Kush. Off the roof I would push, maybe shove. Time for justice, no love. Push my hand in his face if I see him. Reply from females, he stopped tweeting, but he's giving details. Untrusting addicts, dialing the number, got my fingers calloused. Dirty more packets selling cheaters, rob you with no conscience, cognizant, not sleepers, and well aware that's more the local. Plus they changed the corporate name and logo.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again. We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
They still on the fear hustle and the bustle. Got cats in the bag like ruffles, airtight. Use fair flight, martial law height. If you get behind bars, they won't send a kite. Still no answer, no email, no tweeting. I will get mad, but not even. Get wise with the quickness, ability, quickly nimble. Won't stumble or tremble. Finding out I got played like cymbals. Dirty more selling you your own Morris symbols and crystals. No different than trees and reeds and toes missile. True Ali said study, study, study. So you don't get enslaved or played by your own body. Giving money to a gold digging dummy. State hopping dirty ones, robbing out your dirty drawers. Souls perfect in fools' bodies. Setting up a PayPal, smiling broadly. Those types don't even know what's coming. Cause when I see them, it's expose time, no running. No gunning, I was told get wise. Dirty people giving weasel evil eyes. Picking up the cell, the call. I get nervous, cause I know what's up after I heard this.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again. We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
Peace and love to everyone. Hope welcome to another strong of what we call more or less is their color of law. Definitely want to take time out to rise up to everyone on the planet. They are building for much. Now, rise up. But well done. Definitely want to rise to Empress VC. Been here with us for a few shows, and definitely welcome to Empress Khalifa. Jumping some bumps. So peace and love to everyone. Yes, got the show on the road talking about the fraudulent Moors that take people money and give out their number when you call them and not getting them. So rise up that chat from our brother Kojo L. Alright. Definitely go and check out Will of Allah, Iron Cheek, music, information. Definitely a lot of information on that website. Peace and love to all.
Peace. Greetings.
Peace, peace.
Islam. I would like to just say something just before we really get into the talking point. And it's somewhat this trade-off, but it's so necessary because this is a prime example of people who are willing to put everything on the line just to showcase the fraud of the corporation known as the United States at this point. And understand this is a monopoly that's going on. It is a strong arming that's going on. You have between the Vatican, the Crown, and Washington D.C. There is a big agenda to keep people from being able to operate in their rightful status, in their proper capacity, no matter how detailed you are to stay within the code or the regulation that they would outline. It seems that they just don't want us to have any form of power. They do not want to see it. So I'm saying this to say, if anyone who is, anybody who knows anyone close to Jamal Bay, dealing with the rise of the Moors, the crew out there in Rhode Island, pretty much, please go through Juju, go to Instagram, DM her. Her tagline is Rise of the Moabites. Please, if you do not know the situation, if you do not understand what is taking place, now is the time to practice your right of silence in their rightful status, in their proper. I just have to state that off the top because it's a lot going on right now. And, you know, you have news cameras out there putting out stuff.
Peace.
Peace. Can you go live right now?
I'm already live on stereo right now with some Moors near the UK. But what's good?
You know what's going on right now?
No, we're live right now, so go ahead, yo, put it out.
Oh, okay, good. So right now, as you know, militia is training. We're supposed to go to my private estate up north. We're on I-95 north, near exit 57, mile marker 57.4. As you are aware, the United States federal law specifies that as long as you're not prohibited from bearing arms in the state that you're in, and those arms are locked away and not easily accessible to anyone in the car, then you can have the right to peaceful journey through any state as long as you're not making any unnecessary stops. So we plan to have fuel tanks in our vehicles to make sure that we don't have to stop at the gas station, to make sure we're not alerting the public or quote unquote scaring the public. So we pulled over at about 1 a.m. in the middle of the night or middle of the morning. It's dark to fuel one of our vehicles to ensure that we're not making any unnecessary stops at the gas station. As we pulled over, the Moors in the vehicle behind us specified that a cop is behind us. So we weren't pulled over by the police, right? Also, when I walked up to the police, the cop, the state trooper, I had my body camera on. It's dead now, but it recorded everything. So when they arrest us, when the body camera footage is not there, just know they have it. They tampered with it. They destroyed it.
Right.
Anyway, so I spoke to the guy. He asked if there was anyone with a driver's license. So I asked the Moors if they had a valid one, right? Because normally in these situations, they just say, okay, replace the driver.
Right.
So I had told the Moors not to bring their driver's licenses because under the United States federal law, it specifies that the militia has certain exemptions. So we don't need registered plates or driver's licenses or anything like that, because under federal law, militias have exemptions. I handed all that paperwork to the troopers, and they took it basically. But anyway, the guy called for backup, and at first it was just one car, and the sergeant came. I spoke with the sergeant, basically told him the same thing, and then I asked him on the body camera footage, what is the probable cause? And both of them said they don't know. Now, a few hours later, and this started at around 1:53 or 1:30. Now, a few hours later, they're saying because we had guns. But they wouldn't have known if we had guns if they didn't threaten our lives by approaching our vehicle with our lights on and with guns. So we could have just peacefully continued. So I spoke with Sergeant Matt McDevitt of the Massachusetts State Police, Danvers Police, and at the time there was about five cops and 4 to 5 vehicles, and the police. The trooper that initially spoke to us, his license plate is 522. And 522 is also on the side of his vehicle. And it says Massachusetts State Police. His license still on, his car's still here. I'm looking right at it. They just abandoned the car. So the Sergeant Matt McDevitt, D-E-V-I-T-E, he specified that, okay, he's going to look at the paperwork and go back to his cruiser to see if the paperwork is real, which is just printed documents from federal court and it's from U.S. Then a few hours later, more people started showing up, and then I realized, okay, there's no more traffic anymore. So I realized that they blocked off both sides of the highway, going north and going south. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 armored vehicles, up-armored vehicles. Probably, honestly, about 100 men with plate carriers and rifles, and of course they have the right to bear arms, just like we have the right to bear arms. So that's not a really big deal, but they're trying to infringe on our Second Amendment right. And at first it was, okay, we're going to see if you violated the laws, and then we're going to let you go if you didn't. Then it turned into, okay, we're waiting for the lieutenant. Then it turned into, okay, now I'm on the phone with the lieutenant, and he just wants to make sure everyone's safe. I tell him everyone's safe. Then it turns into, we just want to run the serial numbers of your firearms to make sure they're not stolen. So I said, okay, I'll write them down. They didn't want that. Now it's, okay, Jamal, just walk backwards to us and speak to us. And now it's turned into, okay, now all of you come, put your arms down and come speak to us. And I notified them how us putting our arms down violates the Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment specifies that we have the right to keep and bear them, right? I've also reassured them several times on video, live footage specifying that we are not sovereign citizens, we are not black identity extremists, we are not anti-police, we are not anti-government. We're simply trying to enforce the federal laws of the Constitution as well as the treaty laws, because the treaty laws are part of the supreme law of the land. They keep asking us to put our arms down, and I specified how I would never dare ask them to put their arms down. I'm just assuring them that we're not going to escalate anything, and we have no intentions on escalating anything. We are not suicidal. We're not homicidal. We're literally just eating oranges and drinking water and canned beans. And we spoke to one of the local news outlets, but they specified that they weren't going to play the entire audio. So we said, well, absolutely not, because we want you to play the entire thing in its full context. So they just let the media slander us anyway. And I specified how sovereign citizens think that the laws don't apply to them. We're specifying how the laws do apply to us, and we were abiding by the federal laws by honoring the peaceful journey laws. And that's basically where we're at. We're at just a standstill. We're literally just standing here still. And 2 Moors got snatched up in the bushes.
What do you mean got snatched up in the bushes?
Huh?
What do you mean got snatched up in the bushes?
We're on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Right? I told the Moors to get behind the guardrail for their safety. Right? Because the guardrail is going to stop any cars from coming. And obviously we're wearing camouflage, so to be in the shrubs is the best thing for our safety, according to my training from the United States Marine Corps. So I also had them spread out so that way, they can't just get us all at once, right? But since it was dark, they ended up getting snatched. They literally snatched up through the bushes.
That's crazy.
Literally. So then, I notified the police. I notified them that, because, their lieutenants are in contact with me. I notified them that we'd be backing the vehicles up. We'd be opening the vehicles to get food. And they can see that there's camping stuff in here. So we had no intentions on staying in this so-called state or the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And that everything I said was actually absolutely true. But now they're just basically needing me to surrender, because to the public it appears that I was wrong, which we're clearly not. So I told them, at best, what you're going to get is we're going to run out of food and water. We're going to get too tired. We're going to get fatigued. It's going to be easier for you to violate our rights further and throw us in jail anyway. But we're not going to fight you, and we're not going to willingly surrender. We're basically going to have to faint. So I told them to get their medic, their EMT and their medic vehicles ready, because I will never surrender my rights willingly ever. I'm of a clear, conscious mind. I'm not suicidal, and I'm not homicidal. And we have never, ever, not once pointed any arms at them, except for our literal fingers. That's basically it. I just wanted you to go live, since they keep blocking me from going live.
Oh, they're blocking you. They're blocking you right now.
Yeah.
For real. Didn't you just get your live privileges back and shit?
Yeah, and then they blocked it the next day. Do you got video anywhere I can video chat you? You got FaceTime?
Not even. I don't even have any of that shit.
How about this? Go live on Instagram real fast and invite me. See if that works.
No, I can't, because I'm on the phone.
Oh, crap. All right, so hang up with me. Oh, no, never mind. You're talking about the radio thing you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. All right. I'll send you pictures.
Yeah, send whatever you got. But what about taking out the clips, so they know that
no, they don't want that. They want us to just put it down and relinquish our right to bear arms. That's what they want, because they're not pointed at them, at all. They're just slung on our bodies, pointing down.
Yeah.
And some of the Moors that already put their arms in the cars because they're tired of voting. So it's they just want absolute control and absolute submission. And since we are a separate nation of people, they can't have that. What's up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but that phone don't got no service. Yeah, good.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but ain't nothing gonna happen. No one's gonna get hurt. Excuse me, that's not our plan. I mean, if they hurt us, that's different. But
yeah,
we're not the aggressor of anything. We haven't been the aggressor of anything.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have body cam footage on my person right now. It just died, but the video should be saved to show the entire thing, because they're already lying.
As far as on the news.
Yeah, not just the news. From out of the state trooper's own mouth.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, because the state trooper said the reason why he was here is because we were just out of our vehicles with guns. One person was out of the vehicle without a gun to refuel the front vehicle that I was in. Once the rear vehicle told me that there was an unarmed man behind them, then we got out to see what the heck is going on. Because it's 1 a.m., it's dark, and there's bright lights and a guy with a gun behind us. And like I said, there's video footage from his body cam, my body cam, and the police dashboard, where I asked them, what's your probable cause? And they both said, I don't know. Which means we should have been let go.
Anybody try calling the chief of police? They have chief of police there?
So the lieutenant was here. There's multiple people. I don't really know who the heck we're talking to.
Yeah.
But multiple lieutenants. They probably most likely not, the chief definitely knows. He's probably here somewhere in the back, but they're not gonna let us speak to him. They try to put the 6-year-old so-called black Coast Guard veteran on the phone as if that's gonna get me to waive my rights. But I ain't stupid. But I gotta go play again, so I'll be right back. Hold on. I'll let Tariq talk to you real fast. Tariq, fucking give me more information. He's trying to go fucking BZO these guns and shit. Fucking. Hold on real quick. What's going on, Brad Sheep?
Yo, what's good, Moor?
What's going on? So basically, what happened is we drive. And
Jamal gave us the rundown of how it got to where it's at. But what's going on right now?
What's going on right now is it's a standstill pretty much. Moors is waiting to figure out what the hell is going on. What we gonna do? We want us to give up our Second Amendment right. We'll turn ourselves in and go get fingerprints.
Say that again.
No probable cause. They haven't told us anything. Yeah, they ain't have no probable cause. When Grand Sheik asked them, he said I don't know. The cop said you don't know. Yeah, and then he said, well, we seen you guys on the side of the road. We was obligated to make sure that you guys was okay. With the police, what is it? Sat versus Tennessee versus Sat. Sat versus Grand Sheik. You know what it is? The police job ain't to protect you. I believe it's Sat versus Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I didn't hear that. Say that again.
Is it Sat versus Tallahassee? The case where it says the police's job isn't to protect you because they said that they only stopped because to make sure we was okay. Can you hear me, Sheik?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
No, he said he ain't have no probable cause. They literally pulled up on us because we was getting ready to put gas in the car.
Right.
That's literally, he said, we was trying to make sure that you guys was okay. We obligated to make sure that you guys was okay. Right, but you already know, man. They not hearing nothing, bro. Like they not hearing shit. They got tanks blocking the road in front of us, behind us, and one parked on the side of us. These motherfucking armored trucks or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I see. I'd seen that on the live.
Yeah, it's on the IG live. I posted a couple of the videos. No, I ain't got no iPhone no more. Call me off the whatchamacallit this though. We'll call it Insta.
So we all just standing around right now.
Yeah, right now we just sitting in the car. I'm not sure if Sheik's still on the phone with whoever the dude was, lieutenant, captain, or somebody like that.
Well, tell him if there's any update, hit me right back.
All right.
All right.
He said if there's any update, hit him right back. All right, cool, Joe. Appreciate it.
All right, Moor.
All right, peace.
Peace. It's real out there.
Brother Ikon, Cujo ran off. I don't know where he went to, but I'll say Islam to him too when he comes back.
It's a busy morning.
Yeah. I think what was interesting what you said, Khalifa, was that studying the tactics that I think he said that we implemented, that stuck home with me because it's true. It's like all these things that are being used, it's what It's what we were using for years. Like, you know, you could take, like, as an example, the Korean War, and they were using so-called guerrilla warfare. And that's why, you know, the U.S. troops got mashed up, and then they implemented that. So that's an ancient tactic that we had in our arsenal. So it gives more power to know thyself. Like every time I hear something from these discussions or whatever, it just goes back to know thyself and how deep know thyself is. That's why you could spend 50 years studying yourself and still not know everything, because it's so layered, and it's so, it's so rabbit hole, it's so deep. So yeah, that's one thing that really stuck out with what you were saying. It got me thinking, damn, like there's more stuff I gotta look into as well. So with that, I say peace.
Rise up, brother Sheldon. Peace and love to you.
Sorry, peace. I apologize for the interjection. But with the information being pushed, people don't know the difference between private and public. They don't know the difference between an actual sovereign body politic and a corporation. These are things to definitely study and to get into, so you can really see what's going on. Like for an example, there'll be a free Moor traveling. Say it's a gang. It's like three Moors in a car, and they're traveling. You have this corporate, this de facto corporate, just monster. I don't even know. I don't even know no other word than to just say it plain. Like, these corrupt people will literally try to threat, coerce you, put you in duress, try to make you as weak as possible just so you can conform to what it is that they want. It's like even if you read all those books, the chains needs to, it's like it's getting too, the pressure cooker is too hot now, man. It's too hot, and it's bursting over to where now it's hitting any and everything. I don't know if anybody ever had a pressure cooker on the stove too long. You know what I mean? That shit is busting open right now because nobody is taking anything less than what they deserve as a human.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that. Negro, black, colored people are still playing the game, which is why these people are doing what they're doing. It's not the people. It's not the people who are.
But that goes back to what I was saying with private. Them people not understanding private and public, or understanding the body politic and corporation. Like, if they understood the jurisdiction of all of this, because that's what it boils down to. The jurisdiction. Do you have jurisdiction over any of the matters that's presiding right now?
Yeah, but
if you don't, then you need to.
But if
move forward with your business.
Yeah, but if they 9 out of 10 times are going to be dealing with a Negro, then anybody they see that looks like that, that's how they're dealing with them. So it comes.
All right. So what if we're not dealing with a Negro? We're not dealing with a Negro. We're dealing with somebody who's been studied.
No, we're not. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the same thing how they say all black people look the same and all that shit or whatever. It's the exact same thing. If 9 out of 10 people think Moors are sovereign citizens and Moors violate the law and Moors are anti-government, and if you see a Moor with a gun, that means they're a domestic terrorist. That's what they're riding with, because it's 9-1. It's called odds, and it's 9-1 because majority of our people have been listening to, have been studying from, has been following the sellouts and the traders.
Yeah.
With no regard for the martyrs. And the European is calling them on their position that they took, which it's 9-1. So the odds are going to be against the nigger and anybody else who looks like them, whether they call themselves nigger or not. Like why is it that they could see some Moors parked on a highway and shut the highway down and whatever like that when they were stopping to see if they were all right.
Right.
You know why they could do that? Because people like Rami putting out videos saying that Moors are domestic terrorists. For all these European whoever's that put out videos, Moors getting their window bashed in and all that stuff. And then the other side of it is Moors uploading some of this stuff when they're getting fucked up by these people. Why are you recording yourself getting fucked up? You already know they're going to use it against you. But that's where we're at, because everybody's on go live culture. So everything has to be on some platform. Knowing that these people are propagandists, knowing that they're gonna snippet shit because they've been doing that. It ain't something they just started doing right now. Cut and paste whatever they want to make the story sound how they want it to sound so they can get their ratings. It's not some stuff they just started doing today. They've been doing this. And Moors keep feeding it.
Islam, Cujo, and that's one of the things I think that when we're talking about the study of it, it's also one of the cons of social media, because the propaganda of it is we have to be careful about what we're sharing publicly. So yeah, we got the quasi part of knowing the jurisdiction, but what you're sharing is you're putting out there in public record. So the strategy of what we're doing, we got to just make sure that we're going to offset that. One of the strategies of the art of war is that when you are strong, you need to appear weak. You have to be calculating and strategic. And again, this is something that we help create, manifest onto this planet. And now it's being used against us.
And not saying that Rise of the Moors being live right now, they shouldn't be live or whatever like that. That's not what I'm saying for all the fuck people who are gonna talk crazy. Or Cujo's not supporting some shit. What I'm saying is that instance, they better be recording, because they're putting out propaganda telling a different story.
Right.
So they better be recording in that instance so that there's two stories out there for whenever this stuff breaks, whenever the stuff is done, and they say come to court, or they say push a camera in somebody's face, what happened out there or whatever like that. There could be two sides to the story, because the side that they're telling is a fraud. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the individuals who are out there saying that they're being active and we're active Moors or whatever, and they've been studying for 2 months. And then they get their window busted open and they get dragged out the car and make Moors look like we don't know what we're talking about. Those people that go live. Those people that go live, I'm talking about. The people who've only been studying for 1 year, but they're doing classes for people. You're doing a class you've been studying for a year. How you going live and you just found out that you're a Moor yesterday? Were you teaching somebody? That's why I keep going back to in 2008, there was only master teachers. There was no dirty Moors. There was no new people trying to say that they're whatever. There was only master teachers. And this whole social media and platforms freaking thing opened the floodgates for all these clowns, traders, dirty Moors, novices, fetuses, and everybody else to put a fez on or put a turban on and put out some information claiming that they're whatever they are, when they can't even show me a paper from some corporation that backed them in whatever their claim is. They can't show me a paper from court. They can't show me a paper from the UCC office. They can't show me a paper from the governor. They can't show me a paper from the mayor. They can't show me a paper from whatever, but they have all these gigantic, enormous claims that the Moors are this and the Moors are that, and they have nothing to show. And then the dumbasses are going with these people's 1 year, 2 year experience perspective of something.
and paying these people that have been doing it for 1 year, like $50 to 30 minutes, and $200 for an hour, or whatever, like that.
And then we're talking about 25 notes for some dudes, and people are complaining. But these criminals are out here telling people 10,000 and getting it.
And it's funny that you say that, because I was on here with Ikon the other day, and this dude came on trying to sound, I don't know what he was trying to sound like, but when you listen to this person talk, you like, it didn't make sense. But I was the only person at that time that was like asking certain kind of questions, because what they were saying didn't make sense. So the point is that after reflecting upon it, one of the brothers was like, oh, well, I guess I need to study more. Yeah, because just because somebody come in talking like a certain kind of way that you haven't heard before doesn't mean that you don't have your critical thinking skills, or it just doesn't add up. And I think, getting back to the point about strategy, I see your point of making sure that we are, it's like a chess game. If you have an action, there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction. And so I get the point of social media for people, in the sense, to become very narcissistic and just want to overshare. And also the other side is that you want to have it because you want to make sure that you have something on a public record. But I think that it's imbalanced. And I think that we have to make sure strategically that when you, and even for Moors that are just doing paperwork, even if it's whatever it is, I want you to consciously think about what the possible outcomes could be. If you do this, what would the other parties do? So that you can start to have a strategy. So now you're playing offense and defense. So it's like we're only doing one aspect, and we got to be held accountable. And again, it's new because we're having to retrain ourselves to get back into this. And it is something that is an antagonistic event, because it's impacting people's finances, their loved ones being home and safe, being able to take care of your loved ones and yourself. So we're talking about people having to take care of each other and making decisions that hopefully will make sure that you do stand on your principles, but you are aware of the costs. When Muhammad Ali was like, I'm not going to fight your war, I don't know if he knew at the time that he was going to lose his title, he's going to lose all those things, because he stood on his principles. But he maintained it. So I think that we have to make sure that when you're standing on these powerful ancient principles, that we have to at least do our best to somewhat prepare ourselves, even though it's not going to be that. But we got to do a bit more strategically. And I think we got too many Moors oversharing the dumb stuff. I yield the floor.
Yeah, peace, mother. Well, beautiful interjection from everyone on the panel. I'm just listening to all the interjection, and for me, I would say I'm kind of on two sides of the fence, looking at it from two sides of the fence. One of the biggest problems I see we've got in our community is unity. We're not unified in the way that we talk. We're not unified in the things that we want. We're not unified in the way that we're doing things. So much so that we kind of have an internal killing ourselves. We're killing ourselves internally without we actually even physically doing it. Because as he was talking more before, I mean, that brother came on the platform, he was talking about Taj. He went into one side of it. And, surprisingly, looking at all the sectors of our people, it's divided like that, because everyone's got a different story about somebody else, or a different story of how to get things done. And for me, the confusion, I would think, is with us. We haven't got and it's not something I don't want to say now. It's not really much of a leadership, but I don't feel we have a governance.
Here again, in 2008, there was no dirty Moors. In 2008, there was only master teachers teaching. You couldn't talk if you weren't a master teacher. So everybody who comes from knowing who the master teachers are, there's unity there. The disunity comes from all these other people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they think that they can talk. That's why Sheldon L from 4 years ago put up the thing with the list that, hey, if you don't have 20 years knowledge, shut the fuck up about this. You shouldn't be talking. Like, you shouldn't be talking.
So are people that all right? I mean, you probably got people who get this information and they want to share with people. Like, first of all, not even knowledge, but saying that you should nationalize the order of the day. And you should try to get nationalized and directing people of where to find those information. And then you have people that think that they're teachers and they got enough knowledge to share with people and teach them how to do things. What can we do per se, individual, to stop people from doing that? What can we do to stop people from doing that?
No, you can't stop people. You're either gonna be someone who Khalifa, you have to mute your phone. You can't be you have to either be somebody who is a student, so you're learning, or you're a teacher. Right? The problem is the students want to be a teacher. And you can't really stop that like that because it's already too far gone. Because like we said, 2008, there was no traders, no dirty Moors. Nobody was making videos about Moors getting arrested and kidnapped and all that stuff because there was nothing out there. There was no info out there. There was no you're going out there and finding, 500 videos of Moors trying to exercise right to travel, getting their window busted in. Any example that there was of right to travel, it was, here's my stuff. Oh, sorry about that. Have a nice day. That's the only example that there was. There was no example of this not working. The only way it came into not working or whatever is because people took it upon themselves to say that they know something when they didn't know shit. And then they went and put their stuff out there, and then people heard this stuff and applied this stuff without any proof that it works, get themselves jacked up, and then over a pattern, it became, oh, the Moors obviously don't know what they're talking about because all we have is videos of Moors getting jacked up. The only video that used to be up there was Moors in court. That was it as far as activity. And then people were flooding to that as if that was the activity. Because those Moors who were in Moors in court are traders. That's Marrakesh Society, who right now they're traders. And they weren't master teachers at the time. They shouldn't even uploaded that video. They were students still. I know for a fact they were students still. In 2008, 2009, 2010. They weren't no adepts of anything. But you go check that video, it got 2 million views on it. And then the stuff that's actually legit about what Moors are doing and what this is about has 5 views. Why do you think that is? Because the people's minds is what the problem is. Same thing Drew Ali told these people in the 1900s. It's your mind state that's the problem. It's not the European doing stuff messed up or whatever. They've been doing stuff messed up. We should already know. We should have them checkmated by now. The amount of stuff they did, and they did it on camera. You should know how they work by now. If you don't know how this European works by now, then you got mental problems. The problem is our people. It's always going to be our people. Right? No different than what he said. What did they do? What did these modern colonists do with Rise of the Moors? Called some war veteran black guy to try to talk them down. And then black guys coming on to talk them down instead of telling these colonists, no, let them go. What did they do? Did they do something? Somebody die out there? They're just putting gas in their truck and you're shutting down the highway for people putting gas in the truck? Well, they got guns out there. Were guns going off or something? Like, were they shooting across the highway? Like, what is the reasoning? The reasoning is because you have traders that put out information that any Moors with arms are domestic terrorists. You got alphabet organizations putting out information about Moors, slandering Moors, and then Moors aren't suing them or whatever because they're too busy getting proclamations from the mayor and all that type of stuff. Bunch of traders again. You have so-called Grand Major, whoever, that's supposed to be the nucleus of this thing. Bunch of them are sellouts, and they're telling people go get licenses and go get all these corporate instruments from the U.S. and we're U.S. citizens and fill out this thing and it says Moor is 667, so you can put that on the form and all that stuff. When all this stuff is not needed. Stuff's not needed. The issue is there's too many unconscious Moors. So the odds are against the conscious Moors. And there's too many unconscious Moors because all those Moors listen to traders all their life and listen to sellouts all their life that didn't teach them about their nationality and birthrights. So they don't know. They're going with the European narrative of what Moors are and the SPLC narrative and the FBI COINTELPRO narrative. They're not going with the Noble Jew Ali narrative of who the Moors are. So here we are. You know, that's all. Here we are. So it ain't no big deal. This is what it is. This is just what it is. This is where it's been. This is not some new stuff. Right? 2004, when Grand Sheik Nature sued these people, Asbury Park and all of them, they were saying sovereign citizen back then. This is not some new stuff. The problem is the new people that are coming into this thinking they know something, and then the old people who know what this is about, but they don't want to stand up for their rights because they're cowards, so they're going to talk BS about the people who are standing up for their rights and people who are active. Right? People who should be at 5 a.m. rubbing up on their wife and giving their wife the morning wood, they're on here talking crazy, slandering active Moors, calling Moors domestic terrorists instead of going and backshotting their wife. They're on here with a slander campaign against Moors and quoting Noble Jew Ali out the yin yang as if some quotes ever saved anybody, as if some quotes of the Quran saved somebody before. And as a whole, as far as the Moors are concerned, it's supposed to show every single Moor. If you say that you're a Moor or your nationality is Moor, Moorish American, MUUR, it doesn't even fucking matter. It shows you how much work that we have to do. And now you should be asking yourself, what have you done in this? I've been in the Moorish paradigm for 5 years. Excellent. What the fuck have you done for the Moorish paradigm? Show me something. And if you can't show me anything, you go in the corner over there, shut the hell up. Don't bring up anything. Don't talk about anything. If you can't show what you've done in the past 5 years, past 10 years, what have you done? Past 15 years, what have you done? If you've done nothing, then this is why we're going through what we're doing, because you're supposed to be active, not passive. You're not supposed to be a coward with this. And not being a coward with this doesn't mean go out there with guns, waving guns or whatever. That's not what we're talking about, because we're talking about standing up for this. Doing the things so that this is looked at in a positive light. Not doing the things that is going to draw attention to this from a negative lens. Because and people who are lost and they're looking at the thing with Rise of the Moors and they're talking, see, if the Moors didn't, they already had meetings with police and stuff like that over there who came to them with their arms and everything was cool. Highwaymen left like there's no problem. So don't think these people don't know who they are. They know who they are. They've had enough conversations with different lieutenants, sergeants, and whoever else that they know who they are. But they also know that Moors who are passive are not going to stand up and say stuff. They're just going to sit back in the back and wait for the good stuff, and then they jump on the bandwagon, and then the bad stuff they're hiding. The bad stuff they're not coming out to support. The bad stuff they want to pretend that oh, don't look over at this corner over here. Don't see me. When the bad stuff is when you should be most active to change the narrative.
Peace, brother.
Peace, more.
A propaganda campaign is something that I see is being used on us over and over again. You know what I mean? Even from the Moors to every organization we have. And our people, I think it's become part of their culture. I mean, yesterday I'm listening to last night I was listening to my radio station. They played a clip of I don't know if you're familiar with him, L.A. Lewis. He's a Maroon in Jamaica. He's been trying to stand on his sovereignty, but we know what Maroons mean, so he's trying to stand on his square. So apparently the police picked him up, I think it was sometime in the week, but basically he wasn't even there for 3 or 4 hours before he came out, and they said that he got 30,000 Jamaican dollar, to let him go, bail. So they brought the conversation on the radio, and they're saying, I think they're trying to compare with the Moors. All of us don't listen, are going to end up in a ditch because people think that with a paper you can stop the police come and take you and do what you want to do. Basically saying he's an idiot. So I phoned and asked them saying, okay, so the brother got stopped by the police. The police bring the Maroon in. The Maroon stayed in about 3 hours. They let him back out, and they said they charged him with a 30,000 Jamaican dollar bail. Okay, if he paid the bail or not, that's not the point. But I'm saying he went in there, and in a few hours he came out. And in a reparation march over here, where the police tried to arrest the chief for the radio station. When the security went in, he had a cup of water in his hand. The cup of water splashed went to the police, and that was a 1-year case in the court. They took him off the reparation march the same day, bring him in, lock him up. I think they released him the next day. And he had a court case going on for a year. At the end of the day, the police lost the case anyway. He won the case. But, in that same conversation, the brother on the radio was saying, where was the Maroons? They should have gone to the police station and take out LLOs because he's got sovereignty, and that to show that sovereignty is a joke. But, we got this fight within the Moors ourselves also. And then the people on the outside is saying, because this bad lives are replaced by all these dirty Moors, it makes them think that whatever we're doing is like a joke. You know what I mean? They look at it like a joke, like, yeah, how are you gonna, police gonna come for you, you're gonna tell them you're sovereign, they're gonna leave you alone. So it's this propaganda campaign that's been smeared on people who's trying to do something that it even make the ones who are trying to do the right thing look like they're stupid or doing the wrong thing. So this is a part of the thing that we are dealing with.
And even
Moors.
And even at that, even at them looking at us like we don't know what we're talking about and what we're saying is stupid and it's not gonna work, we're still here as Moors.
That's
like
right.
Joali said, at the risk of your life, you should be defending this. So all those people who are talking like that are cowards, right? All those people who are talking like that. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna be a Moor because the Moors don't have. All right, then go the fuck over there then. We don't need any conversations with you. We don't need to have any. If you're not Moor, don't talk about Moors. Don't bring up Moors. Go over there and be nigger. Go over there and be black guys. Don't use Moors as an example for anything that you're doing or anything that's going on. Shut the hell up about Moors. Because again, like I said from the beginning, the problem is our people. These Europeans are colonists. They kill buffalo. They kill fish, they kill wildlife, they kill trees, they kill forests. What the hell don't you get about them? About they're gonna do so, oh well, we don't have any sovereignty because the European said that they're not recognizing sovereignty. And Give a shit about what some European recognizes or doesn't recognize. Since when are they the litmus test for what recognition is? The European colonists? That's what we're basing it on, what the colonists said. But oh yeah, if you're dealing with dumb niggers and passive Moors, of course you're gonna do what the colonists said. Of course. Of course, everything that the Moors do is gonna be a joke. Of course they're gonna look at it like that. But I guarantee you, they're not gonna tell you about when that European got kidnapped and they tried to get him out of circulation, and that European got put in the madhouse under a fictitious name. And because he always represented himself as, I'm a subject of the Moroccan Empire, his aunt snuck a phone into the prison that they call mental ward. And he put out the phone number and he put out the name of these people who kidnapped him under some fictitious name. And Moors called down this place. He got released in some hours.
And he's a European.
And he's a European. So what do you think we could do for our own? But if our own don't support this, why the hell we doing stuff for you? FOH. You don't respect the Moors, but then you want the Moors to do stuff for you when you get in trouble. Get the hell out of here. The hell out of here. I don't know what these people think this is.
One of the so-called leaders in the community over here, funny enough, he left a voice note. I sent out the video that Brother Sheldon did with what he did in Germany. There was talking about the United Nations Declaration. There was a short video, I think I sent it to TikTok, where it's showing about the different Moors across the world, different pictures of them, yeah? So I sent, Brother said to me, oh, but Ikon, I keep on, you sending me this Moorish thing. This Moorish thing is not going to work. You know, this thing is rubbish. You know what I mean? Stop fooling our people. There's no way I'm going to be a Moor because this is just rubbish. I'm in Africa. But at
that point, delete him from your phone. At that point, delete him from your phone. Stop sending him stuff. Stop calling them. Stop having conversations with them, and yield the floor with them people if that's how they're gonna talk.
But listen to the bomb job on that what you just said, Coach. I'm just going to what you just said. After that conversation, the brother said, he said to me, well, the only thing we need you Moors for is if you got any court issues, you can come and give us assistance there. That's the only thing we need you Moors for. So I'm thinking, listen to this, brother. So you see the mental.
Wow.
You see the mental.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he said.
No, but doesn't that mean they know that the Moors know the law and we're the only ones who could help them? Isn't that what that's saying?
Exactly. You said it, Coach.
Isn't that saying that they're not even going to go get a lawyer? They want the Moors to come help them when they get into court situations. But then he just told you that the Moor stuff doesn't work. The hell are you talking about? How is it doesn't work, but then you're calling Moors to help you? I thought it doesn't work. Again, which is when you delete the number, and when they're ready, they'll come back to you when they're ready. But don't be sending them stuff because they don't care. They just want to use the Moors so they could do their nigger stuff and have the Moors get them off, which doesn't work like that anyways, because a Moor can't go to a court for a black guy or a Pan-African or a Rastafarian or whatever, because that's diversity of citizenship. A Moor can't go to court for a ward. How a Moor going to court for a ward? Only lawyers could go to court for wards. So if you got problems, go call a lawyer. Don't look at Moors. Or nationalize and learn this stuff so you can handle your own affairs. If the Moor stuff works like that. If the Moor stuff works like that, and the Moors are the ones who are going to get you off of whatever when you have issues, then why don't you study from the Moors so you can know this stuff instead of having to call Moors all the time? Oh, because they're cowards. Because they want the Moors to stand up to this judge. They want the Moors to stand up to the highwayman. They want the Moors to risk their life so they could be niggers still. No, it ain't happening like that. It ain't going down like that. I yield.
Just to add to what Cujo's saying, that mentality shakes responsibility. Because if all the Moors are good for is the law stuff, then if it quote unquote doesn't work, they can blame the Moors rather than looking at themselves.
Exactly.
So with that, I yield.
And that's back to how when it comes down to Moors, really taking accountability for themselves. You can't constantly be in a mix of wanting unity, but when we talk about having a common ground, having a level playing field that everybody understands the protocol, everybody understands where we're at when certain situations arise. Like Cujo was saying, we can't do anything for a ward. We can't do anything if the jurisdiction won't allow us to. So people keep coming to Moors trying to understand the law and legalese and all that, understanding that we know what we're talking about. But at the end of the day, if you're not trying to commit to this, then you need to leave it alone. Because it becomes too much of a situation to where we have to separate what's real from fake, who we can listen to from who we can't listen to. Because like Cujo said, none of this was going on in 08. I wasn't even around in 08. I didn't get on this until 2012. I didn't hear Noble Jew Ali until 2012. Okay? I didn't have no issues. I didn't see no issues like this going on right now in 2021. None. All I was able to get was videos that people graciously enough uploaded from master teachers for me to be able to sit down and watch and learn. You see what I'm saying? No, it's about, okay, well, which paperwork got the key? Who got the template so that I can just put this in, I can just submit this in, and no, you can't move like that. You cannot move like that and not expect to get jammed up. I hear.
Greetings.
Yeah.
Two things. I apologize. What you brought up earlier, Ikon, with the issue with that Moor that attacked Taj, we were on that conversation. And then it's getting back to this with the color of law. So he came in, and I've heard this spiel since 2010. He came in and was like, yeah, Moors always want to expect stuff for free. Well, better forget that when I study the Constitution and Taj and da-da-da. And I was like, hold up. Said, okay, number one, Taj is here to defend himself, but if you have something specific where he taught something incorrect, can you please provide it? He couldn't provide anything. And then he was like, yeah, I bet y'all ain't even traveled out of the country. I've been to Spain. I was like, okay, well, sorry to pull a card here, but I've been to almost 60 countries. So what's the problem now? Well, I bet Taj ain't been out of the country. I was like, what does that got to do with what you're promoting? You're trying to sell us something. What are you trying to tell us? You better make sure you know treaties. Okay, well, Article 6 in the Constitution tells us that treaties and all other things that were in order before the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So what are you talking about? So a lot of times when Moors come in with a pitch, with something that they're selling to you, if you don't have the eyes to see and the ears to hear what they're trying to offer you, you're not going to be able to make probably a good decision, because the mood of the room was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know about Taj, and they were new Moors coming into their consciousness, right? So they haven't studied a lot. And so I'm like, well, just make sure that you do your due diligence to be accountable. The second thing, as regards to Moors that are supportive or enforcing the Second Amendment, you have to make sure that you are doing your studies, because for most part, when you're traveling between these different corporate jurisdictions, if your arms and your ammunition is separate and locked away, you're good. You would want to study it's an act, but again, we're talking about color of law. The McClure-Volkner Act of 1986, which is a rebound.
Mother, you went
1968. Back?
Yeah. Say that again.
1968. So the point I'm making is that we got to be careful of the trip up.
I'm sorry, sis, could you repeat your source again, because you blanked out. You blanked out as you were reciting the source.
Okay, so interstate, intercorporate, interstate transportation, the McClure, McClure, Volkner, Volkmer Act of 1986. This is about interstate arms. This is a response to the Gun Control Act, colorable quasi, of 1968. So when you're going through certain states, particularly like corporate Mass, they are a restrictive state, which means they have even more color of authority and strategic trickery that they do. What do I mean by that? So there are a certain number of states that have what we call restrictive or limited capacity. That means they can't go over 10 rounds. So even if you're transporting and you have everything locked up and sealed, put in your trunk or somewhere that's separate from you, because you're transporting, going to hunts, you're going to a range, you're going to wherever you're going to, you have that pass. That is even a part of the quasi-federal code. Now, the kicker is, though, if you have a capacity higher than 10. So I'll share this colorable thing that Maryland does. So this is where Moors, we got to be strategic. So they have the scanners on some of these vehicles where they can scan your plate. And if you're outside of that jurisdiction, it will be able to, depending upon where you're from, it'll have if you are a concealed carry, if you have, it'll have that information just because they scan you as you're going by. There was a big case in Maryland where he scanned this I forgot where they were from, Florida, I forgot where they were from. This is in the corporate Maryland. And they pulled him over, pulled everybody out, the children, looked at the car, they were trying to put him in a jam. This is a European. So the point I'm making is that the quasi-colorable authority, these colorable actions, we got to make sure that we are looking, and we're Moors, and we say that we study. And so the thing that is the technicality thing. We got to make sure that we are on point. And even though we know we're doing it right, and even though we're on point, there still can be an adverse, or somebody could, because it's colorable. So even when you're on point and you have anticipated possible reactions, there's not a guarantee that everything will go the right way. But I just want to put that on the record is that if you're doing this, you need to be studying, because they're going to find anything to get you, especially if you're, and the key is we want to have things to go with the propaganda. So if you're reading that book or you're studying yellow journalism, things have to fit a narrative. Well, they study the law. They're supposed to know this. These are Moors. They want to tell me every 5 minutes that they are the law enforcers. They're the Bays. They're the Sharifs. And because this one little thing that you didn't notice, if you're traveling through these limited, like, especially those Moors around New Jersey, near New York City, oh my gosh. So what we're saying is that please make sure you're doing your due diligence. And even when you're doing your due diligence, it doesn't mean that it's going to go the right way because you're dealing with color of authority. So I want Moors to really kind of be in that position where you're kind of getting yourself ready to handle these things. And remember some of the things that Noble Drilling was talking about, even some of the Moors, so-called good Moors, the Moors that are doing the right thing, they're gonna get some challenges and some even some injustices, right? So we gotta just make sure that and I think we said this before, maybe I said it, when we're calling on this energy, we gotta realize what comes with it. And we have to make sure that if we step into that ring, I think it was Sheldon or somebody was talking about that before. If you want to step in the ring and think you want to, you can last 5 rounds or 6 rounds with Mike Tyson and you don't get knocked out, maybe you think you could actually, you're the real thing. I don't know. But I think we got to just make sure that we're studying even with the colorable things, because in order for propaganda to work, the trick or even the technicality, those things go with the narrative, because the investigation, the call to appeal, those things happen when there's irregularities or there's something called an outlier. So Moors just make sure, again, I'll just make sure the McClure-Volkmer Act of 1986, response to the gun control. Those of you that are traveling, there's a couple of books, The Traveler's Guide to Firearms Laws of the 50 States. Get some old books about something I bought a couple weeks ago about firearms, something from like the early 1900s or something. So those of you that are studying this and you're enforcing and applying the Second Amendment in your jurisdiction, make sure that you're aware of the different the codes within that. So you want to pull up those codes within your jurisdiction, municipality, wherever you domicile, and just make sure that that is something that you're aware of, because it's something we have to just make sure that we're aware of, and other Moors in the support and in response, I guess, to the third thing that Ikon, what you were saying about as far as it's about within us. That's politics. That's the strategy of politics, is that now it's like if you're a presidential candidate, you're not going to respond to some rando dude outside of that's not worth responding to. You have to decide kind of what your strategy is. So if I respond to this person, am I going to elevate their personage and give validity to what they're doing or saying, or can I ignore them? And there's sometimes, and Cujo is the great example of this, when you gotta just put it on the record. They said something out of pocket or disrespectful, just like that guy that came on the line and was attacking Taj. I'm like, okay, so you can make your pitch, but why don't you make it and say what you got to say? But why are you trying to bring Taj in? Because every time that I countered what you said, or you couldn't provide anything specific that he was teaching about the Constitution that was wrong or that contradicted what you're saying. So I think that we just got to make sure that strategically, there was something like that you can't let go. Because, and I even told him, I said, okay, so if you said to a Moor back in the day, you just called into question their character, you think they're not going to respond to you? So we have to be able to differentiate, is this something that I can ignore, or no, I got to make sure I go on the record and set the record straight. So I just want to put that in. Sheldon, you had a response? I yield the floor.
Peace and love, man. Peace and love, man. Beautiful interjection there. And it's something that we definitely know. You know that song that says you have to know when to walk away, know when to run, you know what I mean? Never count your money while it's on the tape. It's all about knowing. But what I'm looking at, I'm going to get to the message. Anybody, I'm going to get to the messages soon. Show it to the panel, show it to everyone listening in. So if you want to leave in a message, now's the time we can leave, because we're going to go to some message and get back to the conversation. But I'm just saying, I'm looking at myself now. I'm at the UK. And if something should happen to me, I would like to know that we have a body that would call upon the authorities. Doesn't matter where you are. Just like our brother Cujo was saying about that European that was in hospital, and he called the Moors, and the Moors came. So, you know, we need to have that unison. And this is what I'm saying to you. The Moors that are uplifted in that mental capacity and understand what's going on, I think we need to link up in the form of a defense, because if anything should happen to us, then, you know, they should be getting some calls from Moors all over the place, because I don't think we have that strategically in place, you know, our governance. I think we really need to get there with the Moors that are really on this level right now, because it's really important. Because to be standing out by yourself, yes, you can stand in square and affirm all your rights, because you know all your rights, but if they're going to come with coercion and bullet tactics and break laws, then they need to know that there's the people that's going to be having the recordings of what you're doing to this Moor, so we'll put it on the record so our people will know to deal with it accordingly. So
well, remember, they don't care like that. It's not like that. Like, for example, with the European, he knew to reach out to Moors. That's not something the Moors had to do. Just like with the other sister, the sister in Georgia, that she got kidnapped. She contacted a Moor near North Carolina. Yeah, I'm just letting you know these people kidnapped me. What he do? He just picked up the phone, made a call. Hey, I heard you guys have our national there. I'm just letting you know that they're a national. Their appellation is whatever. And you guys do have jurisdiction. It's diversity. And that's that. You go about your business. The question that has to come in is, what are these Moors doing to get themselves in these situations? Like, what are they doing? Where's your energy at that there's 50,000 people in a state, 1 million people in a state, and the highwayman roll down on you? What are you doing? People driving by, people driving by with drugs under the seat, people driving by with children in the trunk, people driving by without, they're not getting stopped, but a Moor gets stopped doing nothing, just standing there.
So let's look at it this way, Coach. Right now, everybody's declaring nationality and they understand the knowledge and the powers that the Moors have and what we can do to their system. So, for me, example now, putting a bed on, jump in my car, driving, and then officer feel like he wants to pull me over because he wants to prove a point.
Yeah, but if you're driving, he has a right to pull you over. If you're driving, because driving is his jurisdiction. So you can't be mad if I say, oh honey, could you go see if the kids are all right? And then you go see if the kids are all right, and everybody's chained to the fence by something on their neck. You can't get mad. You just call them kids. What you want? How are you mad that they're treating them like goats when you just call them kids?
So let me understand this. So what you saying, no more should be driving right now?
I'm saying if you're saying driving is their jurisdiction.
Okay.
If Moors are supposed to be traveling and they're talking about I'm driving, then you're going to get driving treatment, and it's not the European. It's because you're claiming you're a driver. So if you're a driver, then they're going to treat you like a driver. What do you want?
Yeah, you're traveling. Good point for them. Definitely, it's a language.
Real quickly, Ikon, a driver is one employed in conducting or operating a coach, carriage, wagon, or other vehicle with horses, mules, or other animals, or a bicycle or motor car through, not a street railroad car. A person actually doing driving, whether employed by the owner to drive or driving on his own vehicle. The urge forward under guidance, compelled to particular direction. So we're talking about commercial, right? So if you're traveling to go get something to eat, to your business, to your place of employment, or just to enjoy the solstice, then you're traveling. So if you're doing commerce, that's different.
Yeah, it's a language barrier, and I definitely see what you're saying, but beautiful point. So let's get to some of these messages. Peace and love to everyone on the panel. Shout out to everyone in the listening. We give thanks to everyone to being here, eat strong as we build and rise our nation. Shout out to everyone. Let's get some of these messages here. What the listeners have to say. Rise up to Brother Eel.
Hey, what's good, Moors?
Peace, brother.
I think people really need to tap into history. Like, going off of your comment, people need to really open up their eyes and stop slandering, because information is so resourceful, so vital today. What you don't understand, go take a look and take the time to research. And I think that is majority of one's problem is we hear something, we don't allow it to comprehend, and we just go into attack mode. You know what I mean? That is, it's in history, it's in research, and it all really aligns and makes sense when you understand. The more I understand what a Moor is, what a Moor does. Moors, if I'm correct, were sent down to the land to help the people, to teach the people to live a righteous life. That's it. That's it. Everything we learn today go hand in hand with a belief that we already currently have.
Rise up, Empress. Brian Shari. Peace and love to you, man.
Brother Ikon, you're using your personal events.
Yeah. Thanks. Give thanks for that, brother. That's right. That's right. It's good to get the language back. But definitely, what Brother Kojo is saying to make a difference. That's why Brother Kojo was emphasizing earlier the knowledge. The knowledge is so important. That's why, for people start going out there and trying these things without making sure the knowledge is sinking into your DNA in a way that you know exactly what he's saying. So, word that come out of your mouth, you're not really putting yourself under their jurisdiction. So, the knowledge is very keyful. It takes time to come out of that. You know what I mean? It's been years we've been talking this type of language, this black language, this tribal language. This type of language is putting us in their jurisdiction. So it does take knowledge, time, to really, what do you call it now, de-brainwash yourself, to cleanse yourself from that negative connotations language I've been using. So it's very important to get the knowledge right, would you? So 100% affirming what you were talking about earlier. And
like another example with the thing with the language. This mother had a case. And they adjourned like 5-6 times, right? So the last time that she went, judge said, well, hey, listen, if you're making all these claims and all that stuff, and we can't do this and we can't do that, then I have one question for you. Where do you live? I don't live in the city of whatever. Bang the thing, case dismissed.
That's it.
Because they were backed in a corner. She wasn't going to yield. They weren't going to yield their position because they want to get their little finance from the charges. She's not yielding her position because she's a Moor and she knows better. So they made a decision that we're going to ask the pertinent question, which is either going to admit the jurisdiction or prove we have none, because this is going nowhere. Now, they should have did this from day one. If they did this from day one, there would be no issues. But they didn't want to do it from day one. They thought they had the average nigger. They're going to do whatever, and then they're going to railroad them. It doesn't happen like that with Moors. And just that question alone, where do you live? And she told them she doesn't live in the city of whatever. All right, if you don't live in the city of whatever, then, and we're the city of whatever, then we don't got jurisdiction. Period. Case dismissed. Everybody go home. Prosecutor mad. Everybody who was against the Moor mad. But they're never going to upload that shit though. They're not going to upload that one to show you how simple it is to know. It's not about guessing, trying stuff out. This is either you know or you don't know. If you don't know, I suggest you go over there and sit your ass down somewhere, because these people are criminals. They killed wildlife. They killed buffalo that they're climbing a mountain of buffalo bones, taking pictures. They just found 900 graves of indigenous people out here. They're criminals. You want to keep playing that they're government and that they do stuff right and they got oaths to the Constitution. They need to follow the law because the Constitution is the supreme law. You're tripping. You probably need to go sit down somewhere if you're thinking that these people are government and they're the law and they're going to do stuff right eventually. If it hasn't sunk in yet that these people are criminals, they're breathing the same air we breathe and they're spraying chemtrails. You think they care? When are you going to start caring about yourself is the question. But I yield the floor. Go ahead, Sheldon.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add a couple of things. Well, the first thing is, Empress Khalifa, you asked me a question about something at the end of your explanation of what you were saying there. So I just missed the question, what the question was. That's number one. But number two, to tie into what Cujo was saying about language, I don't know how many of you have ever seen the movie Donnie Brasco with Johnny Depp and Al Pacino. And Johnny Depp's character was Joe Piscopo, and he was an undercover agent working for the CIA trying to bring down the mob. And so Joe Piscopo went undercover as Donnie Brasco to infiltrate the mob. And every now and then, when he'd have to go back to the CIA to report what his findings were, the CIA agents were always calling him Joe. And Joe Piscopo would say, "No, call me Donnie." because I don't want to get confused. And so that always stuck out to me, especially when I got on this Moor information and talking about jurisdiction, which is right words. And I think it's very important for all of us to get in that mind state to constantly use the correct words. So I don't care if, some people say, well, if you're talking amongst your friends or whatever, as an example, you can use the word black and stuff, but then, you know what I mean? But then don't use it in front of the colonizers. I'm like, no, I don't want to get confused. You know what I'm saying? Always use the correct jurisdiction. Always use the correct terminology. So even when you're talking to your friends, I'm traveling, I'm not driving. And so that way, it's just like learning a language. You go someplace and you learn a language. Don't keep throwing in English words in there. No. Take your time, learn the language, and use it always, because you're in that jurisdiction of where you have to use this proper language. And if we adopt that type of thinking, there's no way you can get tripped up. Because even amongst your friends and your parents and your cousins, you're using the correct jurisdiction. So with that, I yield.
Sheldon, I don't. My apologies, Ikon.
Mother, go on. It's okay. Go on.
Usually, I have a pretty good memory. Maybe it'll come back to me. I think what I was referring to. Well, let me just take this for the record, and maybe it'll come back to me. So most of us are familiar with the phrase "probable cause." But there's also something that you need to look up called a protective search. So even within the color, like the subset, exponent to the 27th power, right? They've created another colorable 30. So even if you say, no, I don't consent, protective search is something where, again, this is ward, quasi-corporate, minority strategy. It's because I have to protect you from yourself. So that's when you see them yanking people out of the car. Now, again, Moors, please make sure that if you are traveling, even if you're not going from this corporate jurisdiction to another corporate jurisdiction, that you have your firearms, depending upon what their codes are, even if it's colorable, cased is separate, locked, ammunition stored somewhere separate. Please make sure you're doing that. If you're going to a restrictive state, I think the one thing, and I think that I was very proud to see that in the video demonstration, because one of the stipulations in the colorable authority says you can only make a reasonable stop. What does that mean? That means that I think one of the examples that I read before, I don't know if it's even in this book, but it talked about if you're coming from Virginia and you're going to, let's say, New Jersey, and you just go to stop at the gas station, get up, you go to get something to eat. But if you go visit a family member, then you're under that colorable authority. Because if you just go and just make reasonable stops along your journey to get to, if it's a firearms class, you're going to a range, you're going hunting, wherever you're going. So even within these colorable things, just please make sure that you're aware. And again, even sometimes we know we're doing the right thing, there's going to be something. But the key is that if it goes with the narrative, then that's when that yellow journalism and that propaganda comes up. But we have to make sure that we can handle the psychic and the spiritual responsibilities of what that does to our loved ones. Because when we're making these decisions and we're enforcing it, we have to make sure. So if you're not able to take care of your mom and she's needing insulin, she needs somebody to go to the store, and yes, she should have made certain decisions, hopefully in her life, to put her in a healthier state. How does that impact your loved ones? So I guess I just want us to make sure that it's more than just one-sided. It's just not some kind of myopic, one-dimensional thing. When we're making these decisions, they have an impact on not only ourselves, but the people that we love and are responsible for and responsible to. So, Sheldon, I still don't remember what I asked you. That's what I was going to say to you. When you're learning another language, because I learned a little bit of French, un petit peu. I wonder for the Moors that have learned a secondary or a tertiary language, is it easier for us to be aligned, or is it just a mental decision for you to be intentional that goes along with, again, my phrase is mindset. So Sheldon, I was going to ask you that because I know that you speak, I was going to say Prussian, but you speak German and some other things. But I wanted to ask you, when you study your other language, do you think it's easier for Moors that speak more than one language to have this, or is it just a mindset, or is it both? That's what I wanted to ask you.
Well, I think, I speak German and I speak French as well. French is a little bit trickier because I barely use it, but I pretty much comprehend 90%, 95% of what I hear with regards to French. And German, it depends on how tired I am. But I think it's, if you want to learn another language, you just have to apply yourself. And I think the best, obviously, situation is to be amongst people that speak that other language. And you'll be surprised that, especially if you're in another country that, that has this language, you'll be surprised at how patient people are, because these other nationalities are honored that you would take the time to learn their language, being that that English is the international language. So rather than forcing them to speak English, you're like, no, I want to learn your language. And it's a mindset. And so for German, when I went on exchange, I just asked the students to speak to me in German, but really, really slowly. And I said, if I don't understand, don't say it in English. Just say it even slower. And I had my Learn German book. I was just, reading from it and studying from it every single day. And then within 3 months, I was able to have a conversation with the taxi driver going back to the airport. Now, the grammar was the hardest. Like, German grammar it's almost impossible, man. It's really, really difficult. So my grammar was terrible, but the taxi driver was able to comprehend what I was saying, and I was able to comprehend what he was saying. So it's just a mindset of applying yourself, and once you do that, then you'll get it. I don't know if that fully answers your question, but it's a mindset. You just have to want to. You have to want to make that change. And if you're not in a community where that language is being spoken all the time, then it's a little bit more difficult. I would say buy children's books and read. When you're reading these books, read out loud so you hear yourself speaking. That's also really important, because if you're reading in your head, you don't know the true pronunciation of the words. And children's books are very, very basic. The cat opened the door. The dog jumped over the piece of wood type of thing. It's really, really simple. And once you get those basics, and then it'll start to come. And then obviously watching movies and stuff in these languages, getting, certain TV channels and stuff, and just hearing the language over and over and over again while you study it, it'll help you absorb the differences in the languages and help you absorb the knowledge pretty much. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. You did answer my question, and I will say to people, because I'm a facilitator of learning, you can also, one thing I do when I travel, if you want to learn how to count, if you're negotiating, if you're going to a market, you want to go and look for the songs that children sing for the alphabet and their numbers and how to count. So when you're in just basic phrases, because it'll help you if you need to know how to, say you need to go to get a taxi, get back to the hotel, and especially in most places when you're negotiating, you need to know the numbers, or even maybe just saying this is too expensive, or I'm not looking for that, or no thank you. Like, there's things that you can do that, again, is related to that kind of very kind of elementary level of learning. So I would suggest, again, getting the children's books, but even just going on YouTube and looking at how to count to 100, or in Arabic, or important phrases, even if you want to say the days of the week or the months of the year. So there's things that you can do in addition to saying, hello, goodbye, or top of the morning to you type of situation. So you did answer my question. I think it's mindset, but I was just wondering if there was something else there. So I kind of know you're ready to get in there, so I yield the floor.
Yeah. It's definitely mindset. And I know for sure that in my previous lives, I was also traveling. I know that for sure, because wherever I go, I tend to pick up, pieces of different languages, and I'll always remember them. So I've been to Korea. I know how to say hello, how are you, you're welcome, thank you, how are you, I said, basic stuff like that. In Vietnamese, I know how to say thank you. In Vietnamese is a little bit trickier, but I know how to say thank you, like beautiful, specific words. Then in Arabic, I know how to say I'm eating. Obviously, hello, good night, good day, thank you, yes, no, specific words like that. And I tend to just remember them. And this is from me, me going to Palestine, quote unquote Israel, staying with Palestinian family, like pretty much my second family, and just learning, and just picking it up. And I looked at it. There's another movie. I don't know if any of you have seen it, called The Devil's Advocate, with, once again, Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves, where Al Pacino plays the devil, and he's going around impregnating different women around the earth, trying to create the Antichrist. And Keanu Reeves is a lawyer, and what the devil does is he plays off of the sin of vanity, the ego, the sin of vanity, and how lawyers always want to win, and so on and so forth. And what's interesting about that is, within that movie, in the end, when Keanu Reeves finally confronts Al Pacino, the devil, and was asking him, and the devil says it, because the law puts us in everything, and so anyways, within that movie, Al Pacino as the devil speaks every single language, and he goes to Chinatown and he speaks to the person in Chinese, and then he goes to he's on the subway and he speaks to this Latino brother, was about to stab him or something with this knife, and then Al Pacino switches to Spanish and tells him tells the Latino brother what's happening at his apartment after the brother left and his girlfriend is there, and then he's at the office and he's speaking Russian, and I just always thought, that would be the dopest thing ever, to be able to speak every single language on the planet. Everywhere you go, you comprehend everything, and you instantly communicate with the people of the land. And that also ties into us bringing Christopher Columbus to the Americas, and automatically we're talking Arabic or Chaldean or Hebrew. And so us as a culture, because we travel so much, we spoke all these different languages. And so to me, it's important to know all these different languages, not to just sit on our laurels that English is the international language. And so this is, by me being able to pick up all these languages and specific things to say very, very quickly, I know for sure in my previous life, I was traveling to all these different places. So I'm just kind of reliving that right now. Even Chinese, when I go to China and Taiwan, the people of the factories that I was going to, I never wanted to know. They would always introduce themselves with their English names, and I'm like, no, I want to know your Chinese names. And I was the only one out of all the people, like the Swedish people that I used to go to Taiwan with, and so on. I was the only one that said, I want to learn your Chinese names, and they would give them to me, and I would remember them. I would write them down and make sure that I remembered them. And still to this day, I don't know, like some of my lives and stuff like that. If some of you have watched some of my live videos on IG, I still have contact to the project managers from these factories, and they'll come on and I'll call them by their names because I still remember them. And they gave me so much respect for that because I was the only one that did that. Everybody else would use their English names because it's quote unquote easier. So all that to say, learning wherever you travel, learning the true names of these people and learning even the smallest parts of the language, they really, really appreciate that. And their level of respect for you goes even higher. You know, so with that, I yield.
I concur. I think I do the same thing. So we must be like brothers and sisters from another mother, like spiritually. I think it's really important to do that because it gives respect. So give thanks.
Rise up, Brother Sheldon here. Beautiful interjection from you and the mother there. And I would just like to add on my journey, for someone that's one of the newest into this knowledge, and I'm so grateful to have brothers and sisters like yourself, where I can get the right knowledge, because as I can see how much more that's new to this really get derailed and into different direction. But one of the first things I did was stop watching television, stop listening to mainstream media, and even distancing myself from some of my friends and my family, because the language and the conversation they have is kind of back in that low vibration. And I realized I get myself worked up, I get myself angry, because when you come around certain truth and knowledge, and then you're going around, especially your loved one, and you kind of have a conversation trying to even help them, and you can see that they're going down the wrong road, it's starting to make you angry. So for me, what I've done to even make myself grow more now is even my own families have really distance myself from, because the language that they're having is some negative language, and it's a black language, and it's the Christian language, that's that language. So sometimes for you to grow, you have to take yourself so you can get strong enough, strong enough where you can actually grow on your families after a while and say, no, I know to deal with this, I can see what you're on, and what I've accepted for what it is. And, just hopefully you can see me as a beacon shine, and then, you can probably come to me and talk to you about what I've been trying to talk to you about before. So definitely understand, that's the first thing you have to make, because this journey is not an easy journey. It's not an easy journey. It takes a lot of discipline. It's a lot of sacrifice, and you will lose a lot of loved one on the way too. But when it's a divine calling, you can feel it in your DNA, you can feel it with every part of your body, within your blood, your heartbeat. And if you've been searching for knowledge, and then when when you find that knowledge, that it's like all the knowledge you've heard before, it never makes sense like this. There's something for you that you would give up even your life or so. Definitely would say to anyone, the journey starts day by day. It's not a 1 week, it's not 1 month, it's not 1 year thing. Because for me to even think about, from the time I found myself, I said I'm really moving on that. If I had the knowledge beside me, it would have made me reach further. But in saying that, you still need to do that growth within yourself, whereas you need to come to that mindset first, open your mind that you'll be able to receive, be open to take this knowledge. And that's one of the things. It's a journey, it's a growth, like anything else. So I give thanks. But we have a few messages there. I want to get some of the messages I don't have on, and I'm impressed with you want to shine before we get peace and love.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what you were stating, just about growth. People have to remember that even, you have a seed and you put it in a pot, and, you see it growing, you see it flourishing. But after a while, if you keep that growing flower in a pot, it's going to die because it can't take root. You see what I'm saying? You have to move it to something, environment where it can thrive, where it can survive, where it can continue to be the thing it was destined to be. So in that, people are no different. And it speaks to how, you love your family, but there's a level that they themselves, they're not even interested in attaining. So it's like, do you ground yourself? Do you lessen yourself just so that you can say I'm around my family? Or do you see the greater mission? Do you see your purpose in this? You see what I'm saying? You know, because everybody's gonna go through that, especially with their direct blood. You know what I mean? You're gonna have those people who were your best friends, and then all of a sudden you're not gonna have anything to talk about anymore because it turns into an argument just because they don't understand. So again, you know, this is where you really start to look at yourself, see how far you're willing to dedicate yourself, and how much you really can take on. You know, this isn't a plaything at all. So yes, you know, you really want to know who to love from a distance with this information.
Real quick, Ikon, before you go to the message, I want to say to you and to the other Moors that are listening that are just coming into this kind of consciousness and mindset, I would suggest, and I think it's important when you are isolating yourself that you listen to some classes. So I would say go back to Blog Talk and listen, download those, like a month of those classes from Sister Standing on Law or Principles of Nationality, and listen to how the conversation is going. Make sure that you're listening to people coming in with questions, because I know the mothers will make sure they correct them. And I think that you get familiarity with the questions, that gives you familiarity with protocol and culture, and you're listening and learning in the language. So like Sheldon was saying, like I was saying, if you're doing immersion, you have to be there. And so just me. Go ahead.
Did you say Sister Standing on Law and Sister Standing?
Yes. So Sister Standing on Law, Principles of Nationality, they're like, I don't know how many other classes they have. But when you go there to Blog Talk Radio, and or even if you go to RV Bay Publications, and when you click on, I can't even remember what page it used to be on, but she has the names of the classes on the website. And so I think it's on the left-hand side when you look at the tabs. And if you would look at Blog Talk Radio or something like that, it'll tell you all the names of the different classes. But Moors, please listen to those classes, because not only are you learning something, but you're listening to people have questions that you have. And I think that's one thing that at Moors, when you come into this, that you give yourself that time, because I think it's important to get the fundamentals. Right. And so and for those Moors that want to get a different perspective, that's what I did. I did it because I'm curious. And I think that that's a good thing, because it gives you, just like if you're learning rhetoric, you want to know the pros and the cons. You want to know the synthesis, the antithesis of what somebody's saying. So you want to be able to get to, okay, I want to be able to hear some of the arguments, some of the things that people are saying, some of the criticisms, because that's a part of learning. Because you don't want indoctrination where it's just this one specific way. But if you have very ultra-Orthodox perspectives, you need to make sure that you have the fundamentals so that you can not just be a parrot. Because a lot of times you can tell, just like if those of you that like kung fu movies, like I do, they will be able to tell your school by the way you were fighting. We can tell the kind of Moor you are by the way that you're talking, right? So, and they can tell the region, the dialect that you're speaking by the way that you're communicating. So I think it's imperative for those Moors that if you isolate yourself, you're on your study, on your journey, go to those classes, go to RV Bay, go to Blog Talk, look at that Sister Standing on Law, Principles of Nationality. Go to those things, because it'll get you grounded. And those questions that you have, it'll help you give the opportunity to, even if you're not being able to visit a place or congregate with certain Moors, you want to have that foundation. So I think it's good to do that. And then you have more confidence. And you'll start to be able to, because at some point you're going to advance your skills, and you're going to need a little bit more advanced information. But you got to have those fundamentals, and the arguments, the basics, and then even the criticisms that some other Moors, whether even if they're dirty or not, You want to be aware of them, so that helps you process your mind so that we don't just get emotional, we're able to respond. And that goes with the same strategy of another book for Moors is The Principles of War by Clausewitz. It's something we also studied. So I don't really hear too many people talking about Clausewitz. So he was fighting Napoleon, and he was with the Prussian army at that time. So we have a lot of these writings about war, and we got to make sure that we have those fundamental. A lot of it's regurgitated. The Principles of War by Karl von Clausewitz.
Yeah. Okay. Could you spell Clausewitz for me, Empress? Give thanks.
I think it's kind of like Santa Claus, but let me make sure.
Okay.
It's probably.
Go ahead, my German brother.
It's gotta be. No, it's gotta be K's.
Well, with the English, well, so when I'm looking at my book on my thing, it's with the C, but I'm the grammatically, etymologically, right? So it's Karl von Clausewitz. So whether if you type the K or the C, my book has it with the C, Clausewitz. He was a Prussian general.
You know what? And just to add to what you're saying, it's funny that you said the Prussian general, because von Zeiten he's on Moor Street here in Germany, in Berlin, and he was also from the Prussian army, and he was the general of the cavalry. And I don't know if you remember.
I definitely remember.
Right, the first video that I did in Canaanland, when I was showing him with the fez and the feather and the cape and the scimitar sword on Moor Street in Berlin. He's von Zeiten, and he was the general of the Prussian army as well. So there's a major connection between Prussia and the formation of Germany. So that's interesting that you gave me that Karl von Clausewitz. I gotta check him out too, because also if we're talking about Prussia, this is pretty dope. Thanks for that one.
Let me get to the message. But the pile up someone they've been there for a while. Peace and love to everyone listening. Give thanks for your patience.
Peace to the panel. Loving the build today. One thing I just did want to add to what Brother Ikon was saying is that more than the UK, we kind of have no excuse. Really and truly, like, if people were actually more conscious and more aware of what was going on, and jurisdictions afford us to do different things. So more than the UK, we're not under the pressure that our brothers and sisters are under in the Americas. So we actually have a little bit more space and more time to actually get the organization in place so we can actually support our brothers and sisters in these jurisdictions where the colonizers actually are more prevalent. So that's just my opinion on that one, really. But loving the bill.
Peace and blessings to the panel. So while I've been sitting here listening, some of the things that y'all were saying triggered some memories of things that have happened. So I noticed y'all don't say the state of Maryland, y'all say Corporation of Maryland. But in Maryland, I remember two distinct situations, and one that was said was sovereign citizen, and that triggered the memory of an event around the Baltimore region, one of the municipalities around Baltimore City, where this young lady, this was national news, a young lady was murdered by the police, and she kind of stood 10 toes down on the fact that she was a sovereign citizen, and she had been stopped by the police once before. So before she was actually murdered, or whatever the case may be, she had been stopped by the police before, and she was stopped because she did not have license plate, or whatever the case may be, that, was issued by the corporation, state of Maryland. And so what ended up happening, it was a whole back and forth. Again, caught on video, it went viral. Then when the other situation happened, and she, this time it ended with her loss of life and whatever. Again, this was something that was recorded. So I'm not necessarily saying that she was associated with the Moors or anything like that. But y'all mentioning sovereign citizen
reminded me of that situation with that young lady. Now, another situation happened in Maryland, but this was down in the DMV area, in a location called Bethesda, and it was this young man who called himself Moor, and he went into a vacant mansion, and he just took up domicile, and he...
Oh man, I think she's talking about Corinne Gaines, and I think that dude
ended up being arrested or whatever. And his whole defense was, well, I have the right to be here. Like, I don't have to go through any legal system to take up domicile of this empty mansion. And I remember also seeing on the news, because this was actually on the news, and then they actually showed some other instances where another Moor in another state or corporation also did the same thing. The young lady went and just took up domicile in somebody's house or whatever, and again, somebody else was videotaping or recording their husband being attacked by the police, and the woman was like, "Why are you doing it to him? He's you don't have the right. He has diplomatic immunity. Why are you doing this to him?" And I'm looking, and I'm like, I've never seen these things. But again, this was after 2008. So I say all of that to say I don't know if this in any way corresponds to what Cujo was saying about there's just certain things that after a certain time period you just did not see with the Moors. But as y'all were talking, like those two specific events that happened in Maryland were some things that definitely came to my mind.
Now, with regard to the first example, she had sued them, and she was about to go to court because it wasn't that they stopped her before; they violated her rights before, and she sued them, and that was going to court. So they got her out the way, and then used the whole thing because she's asking for delegation of authority order or whatever like that to make it a propaganda campaign against the Moors. And then the other situation was he was just on House of Reawakening Minds. Now they got badges and all this stuff, and now they're the Lamont L.
Yeah.
Right? Now they got badges and they have a body of Moors, and this is how you do stuff, and this is how whatever. When if somebody tried to claim my house that I bought or whatever like that under some they own the land BS, that's a fiction, because you can't claim something that's not yours. And they weren't talking about claiming land. They were talking about claiming people's property. And if they're going to claim something, why didn't they claim some of these rundown schools and build those up so Moors could have something? Why they claiming a 50 room mansion for themselves? Sounds more like greed than nationality and birthrights to me, because I don't know why you have all these abandoned properties out here and you're going to go claim some $50 million mansion. Why would you claim that? It's asinine that you can go claim a warehouse over there that nobody's been doing anything with for the past 10 years, and you're not going to have any issues with it if you claim it because ain't nobody been using it. But it goes back again to that idea of Moors want stuff handed to them. They don't want to work for it. Guarantee you, if you claimed some abandoned school, or if they claimed some abandoned house with grass growing out the window, these highwaymen wouldn't even care that they claim that. But if you claim that, then that means you have to tear it down and build something new. And Moors don't want to do that. Moors have gotten stuck in this European owes them something mindset. When European doesn't owe you jack, it's your own that sold you out. You know, European owe you anything like that. It's your own that owes you. Because they've been lying to your ass for the past 100 years about your Negro, black, colored, and African slaves. And ain't nobody going at them. Everybody's going at some European did something. Some European highwayman did something. But how about that traitor leader that told you that you're black? How about that traitor leader that told you that Moor means black, so why are we calling ourselves black? Why are we calling ourselves Moors? We're not going to go at them. They're your brother and sister. The traitor is your brother and sister, and the Europeans your enemy. All right. Keep living in the illusion. I yield.
Rise up, Brother Kojo. I just want to really share something, Brother Kojo. You know, just remind me, yeah? I remember the first time I get in contact with you when I researched you because of a situation. You know, my mom reached out to you and found you, and she spoke to you. And the first time I talked to you, really and truly, I never liked it because you came across very arrogant. And I said to myself, this brother sounds like a brother who wants us to be in the temple and reading the Circle 7 every day and going on some holy for years studying. I don't like this brother. He's too much because what I was getting from the other teacher that was getting, it's like he was showing me that is all of this thing that this Empress brought up. It's like that's the way it is. We don't need to work. We can stay near at the UK and you know, take claims, car claim, building claims, houses. We don't need to, you know, we can do all these things, you know. So we think, okay, we're gonna be rich soon. That's the idea I'm having. That's the message that he's giving to us. And you know, after getting to know you, we started talking and getting to know when we've been on this platform, and the knowledge you give me. You know what I mean? And coming around these mothers right now, and you know what I mean, intimacy, Brother Sheldon, I really have to have so much love for you, brother, because I'm telling you right now, yeah, if I did meet up with you and be taking on the position I'm taking on right now near the UK, and I want to rise up, brother, a senior Bay, you know what I mean? He's at the UK, and he's a brother we need to link up with. Right now, as he said, we have a clean slate in the UK, whereas with brothers like you and sister like Empress Reese, you know what I mean, and Empress Khalifa and Brother Sheldon, give me the knowledge, and me and this brother here listening to it, we can direct the Moors, you know what I mean, at the UK in a better way, so we don't have a situation happening in America. And that's what I'm saying to you, the whole divineness of me and you connecting, it's so great, my brother, because I'm learning so much right now, learning all the mistakes that's happening at America, you know what I mean, and near America with the Moors over there. So it's for us now to know what the right information needs to go to the Moors, you know what I mean, near the UK, because if you don't, and they get caught up with all these little sellouts and these videos and get the wrong information, and definitely have to affirm when you keep on saying study, you need time, you're not ready, you need time. You told me about the brother that take 2 years just to read this proclamation, declaration. So that's the type of discipline you have to have with this, and that's why when you're in a situation, because if you get the knowledge anyway, you know what I mean, 99.9% of the time you get yourself out of it. You know what I mean? Just got the mothers with the quote you said, when she went in there, because she got the knowledge and she was really on point and ready for them. She had the right answer, which made the case as a jump immediately. So I'm so grateful for yourself, brother. Really so grateful. And the whole connection that we're building right now. So I just want to add that in because it's been a journey, and I'm really glad to have this brother to survive my side right now, because I really feel like I'm on the more truthfulest knowledge when it comes to the Moors. You know, all the mistakes that was made, you know what I mean, all the dirty Moors that's out there. So I'm getting a full around, you know what I mean, knowledge from. So both of you brothers and sisters, so I just want to rise you for that. I give them a peace and love, mother. Philip, I think you want to shine on something.
Yeah, give thanks. A couple definitions I wanted to provide for the sister and those listening. So we gotta, again, if you guys, please get yourselves some tools. So your study tools, right? So you need your study tools. So obviously, you know, Black's Law Dictionary, or Bouvier's Law Dictionary, Webster's 1828, or even if you do, that's the green one, that's the facsimile copy, right? But I'm reading out of Black's Law. I'm going to read the sources of law, and then I'm going to get to sovereign people, and I'm going to address the people stealing the colorably stealing people's, trying to steal people's property. So sources of the law, the origins from which particular positive laws, so if Moors don't know a positive law, please make sure there is positive and negative law, derive their authority from coercive force. Such are constitutions, treaties, statutes, usages, and customs. This correlates with Article 6 of the Constitution. So if you don't know what Hammurabi's Code is, you want to look that up. Different cultures have kind of codices or canons of law. You probably have heard the canons of law, right? And ecclesiastical law is the highest form. So I'm going to read sovereign people, and I'm going to come back to the 2 examples, or the 3 examples that the sister brought up. Sovereign people is on the same page. The political body consisting of the entire number of citizens and qualified electors who in their collective capacity possess the powers of sovereignty and exercise them through their chosen representatives. So as a nation, as a group of people, so you can look up a nation where we have similar customs, traditions, we have similar origins, we speak similar language, we have similar belief systems. Those are nations, right? And so if somebody said they were a diplomatic, they had diplomatic immunity. Let's look up, what did I find? Diplomatic agent. In international law, a general name for all classes of persons charged with negotiation. Who gave these Moors the authority to make decisions on behalf of what? Now, we know we have particularly these consulate actors doing certain things, but I think it's important for people to be aware of the counter. We talked about offense and defense. So there are things that are going to be put in your way to distract you or to get you negative. We've talked about this before. You know, Moors want to give up their birthright because things got hard, it got difficult. They weren't prepared for what they were stepping into. And they've unfortunately turned in their turbans, the buttons, their fezzes. They've done that, unfortunately. But what we really want to make sure is Moors know that we have sovereignty as a people. And so when you have a representative, like a president or a prime minister or a queen or a king or emperor or empress, they represent the sovereign nation. So you have sovereign nations that want to come into agreement. Those of you that paid attention to Biden and Putin meeting together, these two represent their nations, their corporate status. They have the authority to meet and discuss. What was Trump doing when he met with Putin? He was like, nobody can come in here, no translators. I don't want anybody in here but me and him. Because they have to record things. You have to have a record. So the point I'm trying to make is that we have, and I think even to Cujo's point about not having certain actions when he came in 2008, is that there's going to be a response. Okay, I can see that these people are uplifting each other. We got people within their jurisdiction, like developing their unity. They're coming together. They're exercising these things. And we have to throw some different elements in the game. So whether typically it's us that do these things, and we respond and we copycat and we imitate things without being responsible and accountable for our decisions. So Moors, please get your study tools, have an open mind. So hopefully you are being very not conscious of what you eat, but what you say. Because we talked about the power of speech and the power of what we say, and that was a great point, Sheldon, with the with Devil's Advocate. Because we have to kind of make sure, again, it's offense and defense. And what we speak, we are what we think, we become that. What we speak, we become that. So that's why if you're separating yourself, you want to listen to those classes, you want to get your study tools, and you want to make sure that you give your time. So again, for some of you, it might be early in the morning before you have to get your little ones together, before you have to get ready to set out and do your business or go to your location. Or it could be in the night if you're a night owl. But we got to give the time and put the time into what we're doing. And I think it's important to use your resources and ask questions about sources. You should be asking a lot of questions. And I think it's important to bring up those examples of Corinne Gaines and the guy that has been on the House of Reawakening Minds a couple of times. I haven't got through one of the episodes, but I know he's talking about his situation and what they're doing. But again, to Cujo's point, like there's other avenues of ways that we can find ways to build up things and have the positive law. So the principles of positive law, because just because you're more and you're talking about divine and lawful instead of legal, but the colorable act is to go someplace that is being inhabited. People are doing business there, they're domiciling there. That's colorable. That's negative law. So I think that it's imperative that when you have those principles and going back to those foundational skills, then you're able to look and be like, I don't know, that seems a little bit suspect. Because how would you feel if somebody did that to you? So I think we got to be accountable, and the theme is we created all of these systems. We created the labyrinth. We created the maze. We created the chaos. We created the stratagems, the principles of war, the witchcraft, the alchemy. We created all of these things, and we have to be held accountable for what we manifested in this earth plane. And just because now we're on the opposite side of it doesn't exempt us from accountability or karma or responsibility. And the part of warfare is that we want them weak. We want them whining and complaining. We want them to give up. You're not going to stop until you're not going to stop. It's not going to stop until Moors have that courage. The convictions of what it is that is, you're standing on those universal divine principles. So we got to be accountable for what we manifested, what we brought forth, and we have to make sure that we are anticipatory of some of those strategies. And I yield the floor.
Rise up, mother. Definitely want to rise up. Empress Reese, if you want to come in the conversation, you let me know. Just request a company if you want to call and then you have some difficulty with the phone. You want to definitely take the time to rise up. Empress Jennifer, how are you? You're probably at work. Definitely love to hear your voice, but I love to hear your beautiful voice. Always having that smooth interjection. If you want to rise up to all of the panel. I want to rise up Empress Malika, rise up D Moor, rise up to my brother Asai Bay. Definitely we have some work to do, brother. Rise up to Man Baby, Crystal, rise up. Rise up to no one, Uno. Peace and love to everyone, James. Rise up, brother. Rise up with Trigger Eyes. Beautiful conversation. We've been building the show for a while, and I'm glad you can see that, the message getting our people are thinking about even the color black. If we can get our people start thinking about the color black, we're making a lot of progress, and then they'll understand how we keep the show is there a color of law. So I'm sure people see this heading for a few strong women coach are building it. But I shall jump on board, rise up Empress Reese, building, jumping on board, and also definitely want to rise up. Basically, in this message we're putting out to our people, we're just taking it because at the end of the day, if we all change our mindset, we change our lifestyle, the energy and the vibration of all of us is going to change, and it's going to change the dynamics of everything. Because as you're saying, so as above, so it is below, so it's cause and effect. So if we put ourselves into that positive thinking, then definitely we can see us growing as a nation. But peace and love to everyone on the platform, and give thanks to everyone really shining ever strong, definitely giving a vibration and just trying to rise and restore a nation to where it's supposed to be. Peace and love. Rise up, Brother Kojo.
And the idea of the whole thing with the nation, we already know it's only going to be a handful saved. We already know scriptures tell us 144,000 saved. So don't look for everybody to wake up. That's not happening. People are zombies. Just go watch the movie Cell. All these people are zombies. There's going to be select few who their brains are working. They still have logic and common sense running through them, so they'll survive. Because once common sense kicks in, you have to survive, unless you're a zombie and you're going to deny common sense. So the whole thing of why it doesn't matter if we have everybody or not, because when you look up Moor in the law dictionary, it tells you that a Moor is 100 bailiffs. So if one Moor is 100 bailiffs, we don't need everybody. We just need the ones with their thinking caps on, the ones who are still in tune with the universe and still in tune with themselves. If we have them, we'll be all right. I yield.
Really quickly, and this is why I'm going to have this law dictionary for 10, I don't know how many years I've had it. Ikon, you want to say something?
Yeah, quickly. Brother Sheldon, the book's called Moor and Mason. Have you got that book, brother?
Which book?
Moors and Masonry.
Yes, that book is amazing. As soon as I heard about it, like I got it at the temple. I ordered it from the temple.
Okay, has that book got some treatises in it? That's right, yeah, for at the UK.
I think so. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think it does. Cujo can verify that as well. But if I'm not mistaken, I think that there's a couple of UK treaties in there too.
Okay. And Cujo, he was always telling him about a letter from did you say from the Queen to the Moors in the 14th century or something? 14th century.
It was a proclamation.
A proclamation from the Queen to the Moors.
A proclamation from the Queen to Europe, to England or whatever. That there's too many Moors here, so we need to get rid of these Moors.
Ikon, there's a good book called the Sultan and the Queen.
Okay, give thanks for that, mother. Okay, and regards to the question I asked earlier with the Moors and the Mason, is there some treaties for the UK with the Moroccan Empire?
Yeah, but you don't. Yeah, it's in there, but you don't need Moors and Masonry for that. You just go to Google and look up UK treaties with Morocco. The stuff will come up. It ain't no secret info.
You're going to research Queen Elizabeth when she's fighting Spain and how the Sultan provided her with munitions.
Okay, the Sultan when she was fighting Spain.
Like it's not
right. So
when she was fighting Spain, was it that time when did we lose Andalus at that time?
Yeah, because we've been gone in the sense of authority, but we were still there. But yeah, so that's and there are letters between them. I don't know if it's in the Sultan and the Queen. There's another one, but that's the one I can't remember off the top of my head. Because I think it might have the letters in that one. There's another one, but I can't. I don't know where that book is right now.
Okay. All right. That's all right, Marvel. Back to the point you want to make. I don't know if I sleep it off track.
No, I had some things I wanted to just put on the record because I know that this is a learning moment. This is a moment for people to stop having a cult of personality and being kind of idol worshipers in that concept of you are accountable for you. This is a self-guided curriculum, and there's no one coming to save you. So I was looking up. I think I was turning from diplomatic agent, and I came on this definition, and it was demons. DEMENS, ones whose mental faculties are enfeebled, one who has lost his mind, distinguished from amens, one totally insane. So what I want people to kind of comprehend is that I think it was an older sister. She asked me, well, what do I do? I'm like, well, just like I think Cujo just said, just put it in a search engine. Like that's a starting point. And you can go to libraries, depending upon where you are, and you can go to their different databases, and you can put in topics, and you can get microfilm, microfiche. Like we got to go back to like old school studying, where you're going to pull up a copy of something, and typically, you got to pay a certain amount of money to get a copy of the microfiche or the microfilm, and you want to go to the reference area of the library and go into those old books, because I'm pretty sure if you go to Oxford or Cambridge or even in, I can't think of I think it's the Economics College in London, they have some really old libraries, or the universities there all have really extensive libraries where you can go in and maybe you have to pay a £5 or £10 note to stay in there and study all day. But you want to go to those places and look up certain things, particular to, and even those of you, like I was saying, my brother and I don't know if we're going to be able to do it this year, but we're going to go back to some of the places where our ancestors were, to those municipalities, and go and look at some of the copies of the records. because you want to be able to, and if you can't even do that, then like I said, you want to go to your state. Most of the capitals of your municipalities or even of your corporate states, they have like a state library. And you can get copies of some of the old maps. You can get some of the things, because we got to really know kind of our surroundings. And I think it's imperative to, before we even talking about going, I think one of the things you said, Ikon, or somebody said, was unity. No, we have unity, but we got to make sure we have it with our loved ones. Like, do your loved ones know what your wishes are? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be, like, what are your wishes? Like, if you get knocked in the head, do you want to be on life support? Like, we need to get our affairs in order. And people are supposed to know, like, where your things are. Like, do you have something that says that you don't want to get any vaccination? Do you have something that's notarized that says that, or you have something even on your phone? Everybody, most of you that have some type of mobile phone or so-called smartphone, there's a part for emergency where you can put on there, like, I'm O positive, I'm a vegetarian or a vegan, I don't want any whatever. There's an issue called, like, we need to have things in order so that it's not just necessarily about your paperwork, it's about getting your affairs in order. It doesn't matter, how much your finance you have or what you're doing. We got to get our affairs in order. And so that's what Moors do. And I think studying is a part of that, because it allows you to be responsible and accountable for your behavior. And yes, we're going to, make errors, or there are times, even when there's other Moors that you have to separate from. Because some of us haven't gotten through some of the things that we've done. That I can't think who used to say it. I think maybe it was Cujo. Somebody used to say it where if you did something in the nigger mindset, you got to be accountable for that. Have you let go of that, or you even be accountable for that? Have you forgotten, or have you even acknowledged that you still have that issue? So we have to make sure that even amongst the Moors, that we're going to have differences. That's fine. We're not going to always agree, but we got to be accountable for what we do. And then sometimes we got to be like, you know what, I just need to step back into my personal whatever. So I think that it's important for you to use the resources that are around you. You don't have to go far. You don't have to spend a lot of finance. And please don't be giving people the finance that you don't have, because you got to take care of yourself and your loved ones. So I yield the floor.
Like the original Magna Carta in the UK, because the UK has no constitution, but the Magna Carta, the original and the revision, were both instituted and enforced by Moors. So, yeah.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives.
The UK government also signed an agreement of association with Morocco in 2019. You can go and look at that on Google, and it will bring up the entirety of the information. Or Brother Ikon, just let me know and I'll shoot it across to you on Instagram. The UK government also signed an agreement of association with Morocco in 2019. You can go and look at that on Google, and it will bring up the entirety of the information. Or Brother Ikon, just let me know and I'll shoot it across to you on Instagram.
Yeah, but I definitely shoot that across to me, so I'll look at that document. Peace and love to you. Islam.
Point of order for the brother.
London.
A point of order. There is a constitution. It's called an uncodified constitution. So it's unwritten. It's a combination of those the customs and the traditions over time. So it's a constitution. It's just uncodified. So it has advantages and disadvantages. So the brother said there wasn't one. Yeah, there is one, but it's just uncodified Islam.
Thanks for playing that, man. I was gonna add that in. I was kind of slip, but yes, I've definitely seen it and I've looked at it. So it's there. What I call it unwritten constitution. The one called the unwritten one. That's what they call it over here. Give thanks.
In London, the LMA, which is the City of London Metropolitan Archives, has a lot of this information, or the National Archives have a wealth of information. For the London Metropolitan Archives, if you can get a £15 card, history card, and that gives you access to all of these records. You have the book space, and when you're in the space, you can literally have access to the entirety of the records. I think it's something similar with the national records, but obviously we understand corporate jurisdiction as Moors, but even without being in that jurisdiction, the records aren't theirs. They're holding the records because they have to hold them for posterity, but you have rights to access these records because essentially they're records of the deeds of our ancestors. So they've just logged it in order to keep it for posterity. But truly, all the truth is there. Ones in the National Archives in the UK.
They're a color of law. Now, that sounds kind of like the book I was reading, or starting to read, because I haven't finished it yet. But I don't know. That's a good question.
Peace, Empress. Thank you very much for the correction. I'll definitely take a look into that.
Yeah, Islam. Those are the Mr. Brother Puja that you want to shine in your phone before. Peace.
Oh no, I'm good. More. Go ahead.
Okay, I think the mother want to shine. Okay, go on, Mom. You want to shine on something there? Peace and love.
Yeah, no, I wanted to tell him because it was so crazy because I was thinking about, I spent a semester in Britain studying at a manor, a Moorish manor. Like, it's crazy. We had a requirement was we had British studies. So we would take the train an hour. So where the jurisdiction that I was at, the shire that I was at, we could take the train up to London. It'd take like an hour or so. And just like I said before, this was kind of my foray into all of the museums that I've traveled to, even in parts of Asia, South Asia. They have Kemetic Egyptian a section. We were in Hungary, Romania. The last time I was over there, we were in Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey. And I'm going to have to put together that lecture on Turkey because some of the stuff that was there, I spent like 6 weeks there, man, it's crazy. But the point I'm trying to make is that, like the brother said on the message, they're custodians. So those of you that are familiar with George G. and James, we talk about the Moors being custodians because it's important to have this and preserve it for posterity. So those of you that have been to Egypt and you've seen some of the horrible graffiti of people, and even when you do go to those different museums all over the world, I always wonder where the noses are. That was when I was in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I'm just like, isn't it interesting that is there like a collection somewhere? Now I know when we were in the Cairo Museum, I think it was the Cairo Museum. I think that's where they have the alleged nose that shot off of the Sphinx. I can't remember or recall. Sheldon may correct me if I'm incorrect, but I just wanted to say that the more that we're aware of these resources and the more that we experience, the continuity of what you see looks different. Because again, it's the language, it's the practice, it's that immersion. Even though we're separated, we are still connected. So I would push back to Ikon and say, yes, we do have unity because we're going back to that source. Like when I read the definition of the source of law. So the source, this consciousness, this divine positive law, this ancient Akashic etheric energy, we have a tap into that. And I think some of those things get discounted because we're so much on the tangible, empirical things that we can touch and see and count, the qualitative side of having that discipline. So when you're doing something and you're new to it, you have to be disciplined and committed. You can't come to practice late. You can't mispractice or, you want to arrive late before we're trying to get to, no, you have to be disciplined. And so as for Moors, we got to be disciplined. And so with that comes accountability. So, and I think that's the part of, and I think Moors do a good job of that when we should allow people to handle their affairs and be supportive. And I think that because that's what the protocol is. If something happens, you make a phone call and say, hey, I need some assistance. Can you help out? Can you do this? But I definitely think that tapping into that source of things that we already have doesn't cost $5,000, doesn't cost $500, doesn't cost silver. I know some Moors are excited about silver. But again, if something horrible happens, that's not what's going to be important. And again, the prophet talked about that too. Do you have food stored away? Do you have water? Do you have like a backup solar generator, or even if it's a propane or a gas generator? Like, do we have those basic things in order? So if you have your affairs in order, where at least you have your loved ones that kind of know what your wishes are, you kind of have things kind of squared away, that's what we got to do. And so you better stop listening to Moors telling you to do radical stuff, when if you make a phone call, they're going to be able to come and assist you, or provide support, or, you know, get your medicine, or, you know, take care of your children if need be. We got to just make sure that we're really, so the unity is there, but we got to get our own houses in order first, and that aspect of know thyself. And I think that we are already doing that. And for the Moors that don't see it, it doesn't have to be on YouTube in order for it to be real. It doesn't have to be on social media before it to be real. And I do think that it's imperative for me in my journey to publish some things and share some things to just for all the sake of humanity, because I think it's important to do that. And I think Sheldon or Ikon, you wanted to say something. I yield the floor.
I just wanted to, quick question, Empress, because you went to the Louvre, right? Obviously. I wanted to ask you, do you remember when I guess you got you took on the headphones and you were listening to the narration of stuff, right?
No, I didn't.
Did you?
I didn't. No.
Oh, okay, because I wanted you to verify, because I got the headphones, and I remember when I got to the Greek section, and the Greek section, that's where you see like the crack marks where the heads were added back on. You see the crack marks where the noses and stuff were added back on. And when you get to that section, and it's like literally every single statue, every single one. Even busts.
I saw that. I did see that, but we didn't get the we didn't get it. I wanted to make sure, because I wanted to stay forever, but they were like, yo, we're about to leave you. I'm like, dang, man.
Yeah.
We were there for like, we got up early. We still were in line for, I don't know how long. We got up early to get there. And even just like we were in Italy to see David and a couple other things. But yes, so I did.
Okay. So you didn't get your tickets beforehand. You went there and you waited in line to get tickets.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
No, we didn't. We got them. Oh, you're right. I apologize. I'm mixing my because we got the time tickets, right? You get a time ticket
for the Louvre. Yeah.
Yeah. So I apologize. We did. I was thinking about Italy. That was in Florence. So you're right. No, I'm confusing. Forget where the heck I was at. Yes. No, we did we had to get the tickets the day before. No, you're right.
Yeah. Because I know, like, there's some people that didn't get tickets. Well, actually, there's still pretty much a big lineup, and it depends on the time, and then they let you in, right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But the reason why I wanted you to verify, because I got the headphones, that was explaining, and they tell you, they're honest. They tell you that the majority of pretty much all the statues were destroyed, and they hired artists to interpret what they thought these people looked at their time to restore these statues.
Yeah, they do that.
It says that. So that lets you know that the statues that are there are not necessarily what these people look like in those times. And so I thought that, that's the one thing that stuck out to me, because everywhere you go, you always see the Greek statues looking the same. Very European and so on and so forth, right? But then when I went to Samos, and there's this ruin area, and there's a picture. There was a statue of the royal family. Their heads were blown off, but when you go around them, you see the locks going down their back. So it was super. So I was hoping that you got that so that you could verify as well that you heard that as well, but I guess you didn't get it, so it's all good.
No, but just to add on to that part is when I was just at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and again, they had the collection on the Americas, so the pre-Columbian Americas. So I'm like, man, but when I saw so much, even within the little exhibition that they had these, I think they were brass kind of, it almost looked like they were like a mold. It was a mold. And when I took a picture of it, when you turn around and look, it had the braids. It looks just like the braids that are on back of the Olmec head.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the heads in my mind, and I'm going to have to go through my photos from that time. But what I wanted to say to you was, those of you that when you do go to the museum, especially the really, really good ones, it'll say reproduction. It'll say that it's not the like when we were in Turkey, particular because it's very close to Greece, and I was doing my best to try to go to the island that you were talking about, but it just didn't work out because of the time of year we were at, and it was chaos. But when we were there, they have a lot of their Greek collection is, I guess, sought after because it's contemporary just to the neighbors, but all of those things that they had were reproductions, and so I was like, well, but I made sure that actually the museum that was Turkey did a really good job of doing that. All the nameplates, it actually said reproduction, so you were able to look at it like this isn't a real thing. So I think for Moors, and we were in India, South India specifically, and it was talking about the Jews being there. And I brought this up to the tour guide. I said, well, that's a reproduction or illustration. That's not something from 1200, or I think it was even, I forgot. I think they were saying even before in ancient times because of the trade. And don't forget about the Mauryan Empire in Hindustan.
Right.
Because I definitely was in New Delhi, and it did. And this is what being a Moor is when you travel. Like, you're having this like crazy dance, like you're doing this thing, and you're like, I cannot believe that this is here. The image or the photo that Bobby Hemmett pulled up was the same statue that I saw, and I'm like, yo, this is. And so you have those moments, and that's why I say, if you don't want to travel outside North America, that's totally fine. There are jewels and gems wherever you are, and I think for those of us that do, it becomes like an obsession because you need it, because it is a communication. It's like you want to have that time to practice and talk to Moors about these experiences, and the evidence is preserved. They're custodians, so they're going to keep it there. It's up to us to make sure that it even goes back to its rightful place. Because when I was in Egypt, they had what we call Ramses. He was just sitting out there. They had Hatshepsut and like 3 or 4 others sitting there, and they're not covered. They're just exposed. All the Comedics, all the people that is all about Egypt. Why aren't you petitioning? What's his name at the Cairo Museum and whatever his name is? He used to be on the things for. He's like a curator of Egyptology, to have them put back to a place so that they can rest properly. They're being exposed. Every time we go all over the world, they don't have any of their leaders exposed without being in some kind of mausoleum or there's some kind of stone. They don't have their bodies just sitting there up for display like a slave auction or someone just exploiting them. Like, why? I mean, I think that people need to, just like if another country takes something of yours, they're supposed to petition them to give it back to you. Right. So I want the Egyptologists to be able to do that. I yield the floor.
Right. So, let's iron cheek and give them some lyrics content that we're talking about. The peace and I'm going to take a little music interlude right to everyone on the platform, and we get back to this discussion, because this discussion is so full and packed. I think we need to take a little musical interlude, and peace and love to everyone.
Paul say he's a Zionist. Kwame Ture says blue is the Jewish flag and he wears beret. Yarmulke Jews the head of the religious bullet. To legitimize the stance in the expulsion play. Expelled with Moors at the fall of Granada. Solidified the reparations and moved to Canada. Satan synagogue smells like ocean swine. JTF propagate your mind. Staying there from Israel and from Palestine. Never got charged for the slave tax collecting crime. Ask about their involvement in black plagues and the black massacres and Ryan Fleisch massacres. Religious, ritualistic, fake mystics used to kidnap young boys and girl Christians. For Talmud, to Talmud as sacrifice. Ashkenazi live on others like parasites. Blood sucking, taking heads off the top like muffins. Moses being a Mennonite is no assumption. Book no shoe from Ashkenaz back to the cave. Moors return, humorist goes back to the slave. No need to more, we call it death and days. When rise up, set sunblock won't get you saved. Book knows Ashkenaz back to the cave. Moors return, you Christians back to the slave. No need to worry, the common death and days. When rise up, set with sunblock, you won't be saved. Ask the pilgrim Christian who ran the crusade mission. Most here to pass them up to God and they won't listen. The holy book is poison to the hearts of men and minds. Christ, we can't find because they martyred them, sold them, they can DNA and clone them to do their will, like boys of Brazil. Golden men thoughts from their head in red ink, making feast from 2 fish and 5 bread with no drink. Bible says burnt grass, teachers so all pink. We'll show you just follow and don't read a thing. Parables deciphered, Messian writers control the world now with ones and ciphers. The age of info can make your daughter an info. Following the role models to remove pimples. Mind control the puppets with Christmas jingles. Moors want cheese and cream like rap singles. Sell out inside chambers with gas mingles. I said Celeste, not God, the Rosh tremble. Watching me funny. In 2 minutes he's watching me funny. Got vexed and took his split from me. Book no issue from Ashkenaz back to the cave. Moors return, but it goes back to the slave. No need for worry, call me cat this day. When rise upset with unblock, you won't be saved. Canaanland is reclaimed by the Moors. We got our own flag back, so we giving back yours. Give back your rituals and your Babylon ways. Take your arm and leave the rainbow flag to the gaze. Indigenous, foreigners devious. Know it's the consolation when I say it's serious. How serious you ask? Come out the water like normal. Up my mom's school, gave the doctor my promo. George drop when I enter. The world present the knapsack. On a quest with no side fight for abstract. Shoot with stars, no black gas through the bars. Whether it's jail or a chocolate penis called bars. Penis eaters, house donuts and caramel. I'm not amused about the fork and the spinning carousel. Get back your rituals and your Babylon ways. Give me back my arm, beat the flag to the cave. Book no shoe from Ashkenaz back to the cave. Moors return, humorist goes back to the slave. No need to worry, call me death and days. When rise up, set sunblock won't get me saved. Book knows Ashkenaz back to the cave. Moors return, you Christians back to the slave. No need to worry, the common death and days. When rise up, set with sunblock, you won't be saved. Rainbow flag to the cave.
Rise up, everyone. After that musical low, so that's Iron Sheik. Check him out on willofallah.com. All for music there, all for content, all for information that start out drop that tune into the conversation. Let's get to the messages. Peace and love to everyone.
One quick thing before when you're talking about the treaties, another one, there's another oldie but goodie that they don't talk about anymore. Yale Law Library has a website called Avalon Project. AVALON Project. And if you go on Avalon Project, you're gonna find all the treaties from Code of Hammurabi to 19th century documents, 4,000 BCE documents on there. So that's another reference point with regard to doing
Yale.
No, it's Avalon Project.
No, what's the website called? Yale what?
Yeah, just look up Avalon Project. It'll come up.
Okay, give time.
Yeah, just Google Avalon Project, AVALON Project, and it's the first site that comes up.
My apologies. One more. I just want to add one thing to that. Is another book. It's called Black Moors: Africans in Tudor England, Their Present Status and Origins. Black Moors: Africans in Tudor England, Their Present Status and Origins.
Give thanks for that, man. Let's get to these messages. Peace and love to everyone on the platform. Beautiful, good.
Sorry, can I just add on another reference dealing with the brutish Moors? Was it the Moors in Spain by Ivan van Sertima? There's another. He's another gem to get some info from regarding the Moors. Ivan van Sertima.
Give thanks for that.
And continue what the Empress was saying, it's like when we actually realize that all of this information, or when more people awaken to the information that all of the history is ours, we actually then are able to access the true history, because the true history is underneath in the vaults in the Vatican, it's in the vaults in the Smithsonian, it's underneath the National Museum in England, it's underneath the Natural History Museum, it's underneath the Science Museum, and that's where, when they say that they bury our history and bury our knowledge, these are the venues that they bury our history and our knowledge in. But the individuals, or quote unquote so-called black people, disassociate themselves with all of this stuff, so therefore they never go there looking for themselves. So when they turn up there looking at the apes and stuff like that, they're like, oh yeah, let me try and gain some association with that, or a dinosaur that they made 5 minutes ago that they've proven that it's fake. So yeah.
So I remember watching a video of Dr. Van Sertima, one of his lectures. He's one of my favorites. And I remember he was talking about the nose of the Sphinx. And I love when Dr. Van Sertima does his lectures and he gets really passionate. And he said, the bloody Arabs, they have the nose of the Sphinx. They have it. And he was saying that the Egyptians, the Arabs in Egypt, have the nose of the Sphinx. They've had it for a while. And they refuse to put the nose of the Sphinx back on the Sphinx because it's an African nose. And when he said that, like, that forever stuck with me. That this stuff wasn't just blown to bits and nobody has it. It's still there. People just refuse to go up there and put it back where it was.
She's absolute. I remember that video. I remember watching that lecture. And she's absolute. Like, this is just stating how we should petition and make sure that the all these great archaeological findings go back to the rightful owners. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. It's not that they can't, they won't. They don't want us to know that we actually reigned at one point. They don't want us to know our power. You see what I'm saying? So, like, she's absolute. She's absolute. Yeah.
But the other part about it too is that if we have to rely on some ancient stone noses to know who we are, we got problems. If you got information at your fingertips and you want these people to release some 50,000-year-old sculpture in order for you to know who you are, we got problems. We got bigger problems than we think we got. If that's what it's gonna take for us to be free. Them opening the Vatican for everybody to go in there and see the stuff in there, because you could know what they stole by studying. You don't need to see anything that they got, and what the hell do those all those statues that don't have noses right now have lips on them that look like yours? So what do you need noses to verify something? So don't get misdirected with Moors bringing up the noses being shot off and stuff like that, thinking that the point is the nose. That's not the point.
Yeah.
Because people are gonna get caught up that well, since they did that, then they gotta give all this. They don't give anything back. What do they need to give back? If you're your ancient foremothers and forefathers, what aren't you that? In real life, Aren't you the
Absolutely.
stone? Aren't you the stone stuff in real life? So if you're the stone stuff in
Absolutely.
real life, then how about just be yourself, like Noble Drew Ali said, and stop petitioning these people to give you back some 50,000-year-old stuff. That what are you gonna do with that? If they give you back the Sphinx nose now, what are you gonna do with it? Like what if they said, okay, black guys, we're gonna give you back the Sphinx nose? What are the people gonna do? They're gonna just be walking around with a nose and the whole rest of the goddamn bodies in Egypt? Or are they gonna go and go glue it back on? Like what are they really gonna do with a Sphinx nose or a pharaoh hand or whatever they shot off? Like what are you really gonna do with that? How is that gonna stop you from paying these colonists all your finance? How's it gonna stop them from kidnapping your children and raping you? So just saying, don't get caught up because you hear Moors talk about Sphinx noses, and now you're going to go do research all over the place to find out where in the world they're hiding all the stuff that they stole. That's not the point. I yield.
I think it's more just to know, like, where you can find a reference, they are making an active motion to demolish any form of remnants of who we are. When it comes to just knowing that we established all of this, you see what I'm saying? They want our reference point to be the slave boat. They want us to see that drawing where everybody laid out in every nook and cranny of a boat coming from Africa over wherever the boat landed, even though they can't find the boat. I think that's more so of the point. It's not necessarily like you want to rock whatever. It's more so just knowing that all that you need is in front of you. All that you are is in front of you. They just keep calling it something else. They keep redirecting your attention to things that are literally right in front of you. And just like you said, yeah, they blew the nose off, but the lips is there. Sheldon was talking about the locks. The head was blown off, but you still see the locks in the back. You will be able to see yourself. But again, like Cujo also stated, it's not necessarily the point. It's more so just knowing that they know who you are and they are trying every possible way to deter you from remembering who you are. Their reference point that they want you to know is the storyline of the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria coming over here. Even though they also documented that Christopher Columbus didn't even touch the mainland. And so, I mean,
And I want to add it that the boat that from Africa was called Jesus. It says Jesus. Yeah, look at that, and that's religion our people, and that's where our people are going right now. That's where they're channeling all the energy that most of our people should say. So definitely give a lot of distraction, to distract you off your part. But if you're paying attention, and do the research, most of the time information is right here in front of us. We got one message here, just from you, Empress. Go on, Empress. Sorry, that was from you. I think you left earlier. Should I play that message that you left earlier? Was it talking
it's fine. Yeah, go ahead. Just it was just about the piece. Just want to add, maybe you guys should change the question of is there a color of law, and just make it a statement that there is color of law and how unconstitutional it is, just going against flesh and blood beings, because that's where we're at. It's not even a question anymore.
Thank you, Mother. That question the brother brought up earlier on, I forgot to address it. I'm so glad that you reminded me of that message. Yes, there is definitely a color of law. And would also say to everyone that's listening, as the sisters gave you so much book earlier on the show, definitely one of the books you need is the Black's Law Dictionary, and definitely study about color of law and jurisdiction, and understand that we are on the color of law. You identify yourself with the color. And that's why I say we're talking about nationality, sovereignty, talking about indigenous. So that's how we call ourselves more. And, you have to just try to find yourself into a sovereign capacity of sovereign thinking. So these laws that we're talking about, this color of laws for the corporations and their status and acts. So you definitely need to study about them. And the more you understand them, then it's the more you can move forward and understand how the whole system works. And it will kind of direct you to navigate yourself in a better way, just living in the corporation. status as we are. So definitely something I would advise everyone to look in, because that's where it starts. So peace and love to the brother that asked a question. Yes, rise up to everyone. I don't know what to shine, but I should have done. Been quiet for a while, then if you want to shine anything. Because I definitely want to rise up for that YouTube that you did, and would advise everyone to go and look at that video. Canaanland Moor, where brother Sheldon where he did some documentary of the find they found in Germany, where he's near right now in Germany. So definitely that video concretes a lot of evidence in terms of how much of the Moors, even to this day in Germany, there's so much things about the Moors there. So I'd advise anyone listening, look at Canaanland Moors. Brother Sheldon, I don't know if you can remind me of the video. But it's definitely on the Canaanland Moors website. That's a video with Brother Sheldon in Germany. Peace and love.
Yeah, it's Canaanland Moor's YouTube page, and it's first video I did back in 2012. Moors in Germany, but it's spelled M-O-H-R because that's how it's spelled in Germany. Moors in Germany. There's that one. There's a part 2. There's 3 of them. There's a part 2, which is part 3 is the world is Moors, actually. And that's spelled the world is then M-O-O-R-S, if I remember correctly. Part 2 should be German Moors 2, I think, and it's German and an M-O-H-R is 2. And I can't front. That's one of the beauties of Germany is they don't hide it. And like say what you want about it, they don't hide it. And there's this video that my friend told me about that I'm desperately looking for. I talked about it with Brother Cujo and Brother Ikon. I don't want to mention it on here because I want to find it first and then download it, and then I'll mention it just in case it gets erased. But it's a video that my friend told me about, and it challenges a lot of notions about what's been said about Germany and stuff like that. And like Empress Khalifa and I were talking about like Prussia. She gave the information about Clausewitz, Karl von Clausewitz, in Prussian army, and I was saying about von Zeiten in the Prussian army. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and von Zeiten was definitely a Moor. There's that connection. There's that connection. So that I think that's one reason why they don't hide it. You know what I mean? They there's honor here, especially with the Holy Roman Empire and stuff being pretty much seated here, and their allegiance to the Moorish Empire. They just, Switzerland ain't hiding it. You know what I mean? Austria ain't hiding it. These places that have I would say the German as the languages. I haven't been into further east. I haven't been further east, but I'm pretty sure Empress Khalifa could talk about that further east. I mean, I've seen pictures of I think it was a Moors hotel or something like that in Hungary. There's a bunch of Moors hotels in Italy and stuff, but like further east, like into Hungary and Eastern Europe, I haven't been there as of yet. But I'm pretty sure like Empress Khalifa could comment on that. So that I yield.
Islam, yes. So you have what we call Moorish revivinists. It's like they're reviving Moorish architecture. So when you go, because my mind, I'm thinking about Eastern Europe, I'm thinking of like, Cold War, gray, kind of like these kind of drab. No, it is the antithesis of that, which means the total opposite. So when you go, it's so much Moorish architecture that is, I always take a lot of photos anyway, but you can get really lost in the reverence in which the world has for our culture. And so when we talk about preservation or custodians, so the point that I made initially was followed up with the lecture from Dr. Ivan Van Sertima is that it's preserved. The nose is there. So the point is that it's there. It's that it's here. It's not hidden. It's that, do you have the eyes to see where to go to find these things? So some people may be in a position where you may need the instruction to go to a museum and start to just look and just enjoy, and they'll start making connections. So that means that synchronicity, you're tapping into that ancestral information that's already within all of us. So it doesn't mean you have to go to an extreme, but wherever a Moor can start and get motivated to get some information, or even if it's Google for you as a starting point, start there. Don't feel the pressure that you have to, be able to, once you've, it's like anything that you're mastering, it takes time for you to be able to feel competent. And, you're going to get challenged, or people will ask you questions, and that's fine. Because then hopefully you'll be able to go back, dust yourself off, and be better the next time. So I think that the preservation of culture is already here. And I think for Moors is the key is that it's because we taught them to preserve it. Like Bobby Hemmett used to talk about in his lectures that the Moors, we knew we were going to fall, and we shared the information so that the Europeans and others would be custodians. And even Noble Drew talks about stuff was hidden from us for I don't know however long, and that he removed the veil. No more secrets. This is ours. He's a universal prophet. Nobody has a trademark, copyright, or ownership of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He came to us because we needed him the most. So we have Moors that want to have proprietary, commercial, negative law over something as a way that they're preserving it. Well, no, the key is to be a custodian and to make sure that it's there for people that want to come and share and see it or study it. It's there. And if you want to make it, advanced or make it different, that's fine. But the key to being a custodian is preserving it. For those of us that find the beauty or have the interest in it, you are able to advance your knowledge and your skills and hopefully your wisdom. So I think that it's those were Hungary, Bulgaria, surprisingly, was also very beautiful. I saw a lot of gems in that Bulgarian museum. And again, it's there because they're custodians. So that's the point. So Moors, just make sure, however you go, you're still going to end up where you're supposed to be. So those of you that are coming into this, you are ready for this now. And so look back over the decisions you make, the life that you led, who you came into contact, because there are clues that were already there that were present for you. Because I'm sure each of us here, we have stories and examples of experiences from different interactions. So I just want to make sure that you are where you're supposed to be. You just have to make sure that you have the commitment and the discipline to still push forward. And there does come accountability with that. And only you can determine how you need to manifest that. Because there's sometimes, just like as a facilitator or learner, for people don't know what that means teacher, right? But it just means people already have it. We just have to draw it out of it. Moors often teach how they think and learn. We have to make sure that we give people the time and space to manifest how they walk in their process and their purpose. And that's not the same for everybody. Everybody can't be a spokesperson. Everybody can't be a soldier. They have the potential to, but are they going to be successful within that? So I yield. Thank you, Sheldon.
Peace and love to the panel. Give thanks to everyone in the listening. Definitely appreciate everyone here. Definitely try to present, we have some beautiful minds, some beautiful study, beautiful information, beautiful discipline, me balance. We're glad we got the mothers here with us, and the brothers are here, and the sons and the daughters. So rise up to everyone. I would say what they say, this information, beautiful platform you're having. Definitely log on to all the websites at all you can and more, rbbapublication.com, and obviously Khalifa Publication Media, Kirby. But definitely log on for some more information. Yes, Empress Reese, you want to shine in on something, your piece on it?
Just wanted to add out some more references for the Moors out there. Again, we have a platform. A lot of Moors, they congregate via social media. So what Jonathan Babe is another elder He's the mastermind behind MoorsDirectory.com, and he created ActiveMoors.com, which is a platform where Moors can they can conduct business. They can basically whether it be business, whether it be personal, they have their own forum where they can gather together in private. You can create your own room, your own group. Whomever you add into the group are the only ones who can see what goes on within the group, including the creators and the admins of Active Moors. Nobody else can have access to what you create within that platform unless you've invited them, and you can also disinvite them, of course. But again, I'm just repeating this because, there are platforms available where Moors are utilizing to share out proper information. As you stated, everydaypublications.com, MoorsDirectory.com as well. ObaShangoL.com is another one. I'll spell that out. It's ObaShangoel.com. ObaShangoel.com. You will find what you need to find, like sister. You will, if this is something that your heart, your spirit, mind, body, and soul is gravitating to, you will find your footing in this. You will find your place, but it all takes time. It's not going to be overnight, and that cannot be stressed enough.
Please, man, for the information. Let's get these two messages. Brother to Empress, with a beautiful sister on the platform, also definitely tune into a show. Always have some healthy conversation. It's beautiful to be around. Health to mind. Rise up, Empress. Peace and love to you.
Can I ask a question that I know is completely off topic of where we are right now in the conversation, but I brought up Corinne Gaines earlier, and Brother Cujo L, brought up the fact that Corinne had a lawsuit or whatever against, I guess, the police department or whatever the case may be. So the Reverend Albert Fat to Skinny Sharpton, he then came to Maryland. He's up in Towson a couple days ago on the 5-year anniversary of Corinne being murdered. I don't know if anybody knows the story where there was a settlement that was issued, and then there was a retraction on the settlement, and so her family has no money. So here we have, the Reverend Al to Fat Skinny Sharpton that is, coming and saying, well, why isn't the jury respecting the fact that a settlement was issued to her family, they're hurting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm always leery of these deactivated activists that are coming here and stirring up the emotions. But I feel like this kind of goes to what y'all saying, that there is a color of law. Could that retraction, and again, I'm not saying, I don't have details, and I'm assuming y'all do not either, but in this case where a settlement was issued and then retracted, does that in some way play into this conversation about the color of law? Because like I said, this is all new to me, and what happened with Corinne was like one of the first times that this was ever something I had ever heard of. So I hope that all makes sense.
The whole color of law aspect of it is the people who are paying the money. They're the colored people. They're the fraud. The people who had the court session, they're the fraud. Al Sharpton, he's the color. The family claiming that they're Negro, black, colored, because I guarantee you they didn't support her when she was standing on her rights and all that stuff. They're the fraud. That's the color of law. The color of law is them paying them out in paper, not gold and silver. So when we look at the color of law of it, don't limit it to some people are doing some stuff wrong, so that's colorable. Not everybody who's a party to it is colorable. Even Corinne Gaines herself, because she ain't no Gaines. That's a European name. And never once did they say a Moor or El Bay or anything like that is who got murdered, even though we know from bloodline she's a Moor. But as far as declaring it and saying more out of her mouth on camera, that didn't happen. They only used the fact that she said delegation of authority order to tie her to the Moors. Other than that, they don't have any connection to her, to the Moors like that. They're just using that in order to get people to look at this thing as, oh my gosh, if you stand up for rights, they're going to murder you. So I'm not going to stand up for rights, which lets you know that all these people are cowards and they should be hung for being cowards. Because how's this one sister standing up for her stuff and where's the father of the heir at? Where's he at? Well, yeah, he jumped out the window and took off when guns got pulled out and stuff like that. So look at it. When you say the color in that, look at the color from the perspective of Al Sharpton. He's color. Them paying out, how much ever they paid out doesn't matter, because whatever they're paying out is not lawful money. So that's colored. The court that they went to is probably a fraud too. That's probably a corporate financial arm of that city that all they do is rape people in that building. So that's colorable. The judge that heard it is colorable. All the attorneys, lawyers, bailiffs, stenographer, whoever was in the court, that's colorable. The news that broadcasted it, they broadcasted it in color. The highwayman that kicked the door in, all that's color. The only legitimate thing that's probably going on is that she had a lawsuit on their heads. And in order for them to not deal with the lawsuit, you get rid of the plaintiff. And if you still think that this stuff is not real, then you got problems. And you need to probably go check yourself. Because they're not going through all this trouble because what Moors are talking about is not real. They're not going through all this trouble because the Moors don't know what we're talking about. They're going through all this trouble because they know exactly what we're talking about. They're going through all this trouble because they already know the people are going to follow their nigger leaders like Al Sharpton and these people. And they're not going to see him up there and go grab him by the neck and strangle him for being a traitor and a sellout. They're going to have him speak on their behalf. And he's going to talk a whole lot of BS on their behalf. And they're going to sit there and let him talk that BS on their behalf. And then when appeal comes down and they say, we're still not giving you the finance, now they're going to go march and pick it up and down the place instead of whatever else they should be doing, because these people are violating them. But you know, that's our people. So you know, get your popcorn. You know, just get your popcorn and see where this thing goes, because it's gonna go where it's gonna go. I yield. I gotta yield soon too for this. So honors to all the Moors worldwide, and honors to the panel.
Islam, honors to you, Cujo. Wanted to give the sister the definition. The sister, color of authority, the semblance or presumption of authority sustaining the acts of a public officer which is derived from his apparent title to the office from a writ or other process in his hands, apparently valid and regular. And you have color of law, color of office, and it goes all the way down. So Cujo was 100%, 1,000% correct about the structure is colorable. And when you look at even a regular offer can be rescinded. So I remember them announcing that there was a settlement, but until you have the actual written offer and it's signed, then that's something that's very different. And because the family is willing to accept it, so remember we're talking about war, because you're willing to accept their offer of remedy, of quasi-remedy. So I remember when I saw the little clip was that I think it was a aunt or a grandmother, and then I saw the young son. But I think that I mean, has there? I wanted to know. I think from most of the stories that I have heard of the cases, I don't know of too many of the loved ones that didn't take the settlement. Whether they, I mean, I'm sure everybody needs a little extra something, but I don't know if you killed my offspring or someone that I loved, I wouldn't want your settlement. I wouldn't take it.
I'm glad you said it. I'm so glad you said it, because that will showcase to you who is really doing this for the right reasons. You see what I'm saying? Because understand,
who would want that? Who would want that?
No one wants it. It's not even about a want. It's about what comes with the territory. You see what I'm saying?
But they taking the checks though. That's why when
yeah, but then but this is where people go into how you willing to compromise yourself and sell your soul. This is why we call people sellouts. You see what I'm saying? All of that ties in. If you're not trying to separate from the colorable structure, then what is all of this for? This is why we tell people don't even get into this if you're not even going to be thorough with it, because it causes too much confusion. If all they have to do is sign a check with a whole bunch of zeros that don't represent anything, like Cujo said, they're not even going to pay you in silver and gold. No real money they're willing to offer you for striking down your family. Our ancestors used to be eye for an eye. What happened to that? Hammurabi was a Moor. When we're going to talk like that? When we're going to stop telling Cujo to stop calling people traitors when they do treacherous things? Because that's what's going on. We can't keep looking at a check like, oh, it's going to be okay because they gave us 6 zeros behind a piece of paper. No. Ahil.
I had to let you go in there, Mom. Definitely feel the passion of what you're saying, and you're so right. It's a divine thing. Because imagine somebody murdering your family and they feel they can give you some fiat paper to justify the life of your family. That's how deep it is. So I definitely affirm what you're saying, Mother. Peace and love to you.
That's powerful, because why would you accept that offer? And so that's the mindset that we're talking about, is that for most of those, especially the big cases, I think maybe only, I don't know if Garner's mom, I don't know if they were offered anything. That's probably one of the only ones where I don't know. But most of the big ones, the people have taken they've taken the settlement. And with that is some non-disclosure, because so when you take that payoff, you can't go and make certain claims. You can only stay within a certain parameter, because you've basically sold that part of someone that was close to you, that you gave birth to, that you cared about, that you've equated their experience here to a financial remuneration. Because even the brother that was murdered in the car with his girlfriend, and he was pulling his, he told him he had his concealed carry, and he was trying to pull out his license, which is permission, because she's the girlfriend. She doesn't have standing. It goes to, I think the offer went to his mother. So when they make that agreement, that's why I said key to your house in order. Like, do you have something in place to say who is going to be your authorized representative? Are you going to, who can speak for you? Because if you've declared that you are, and proclaim that you're a Moor, do you want to have someone in a certain status be the person that's going to make decisions for you? So that's what we talk about, the accountability and getting our affairs in order. So that, you're the next in order, but we have a trust document, or we have something here that says that this is the person that is going to represent your estate. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion, is the mindset that you would even want to accept it. Because I'm sure it's the grief part, because the grief is an offer of manipulation, because they're trying to coax you into, and then the family has to say, like Cujo said, they have to say, hey, come and speak for us. That's your representative. So what are you going to get? You're going to get, and people still keep having this person around. So I think that the point is, why would you be in a mindset to accept it? And then secondly, what's going to be a come of it? Because if you do, you're not going to be able to talk about it in any certain kind of way. Yield the floor.
Right, so I just want to throw this question. I know Brother Coach has to go, but something just come across my mind. But if you reach into one of those corporations with a ticket or one of those corporations, and you wanted to sue them, and when you reach the court, you sue them and you win, and they decide to pay you. I mean, you could ask for the money in silver and gold, but if they don't want to give to you, or should you proclaim and declare that you want your payments in silver and gold? I just want to throw that question on to the panelists to hear what your interjection on that would be.
Well, they don't have any gold and silver, so you ain't getting that. So you could ask for it, but they don't got gold and silver. As soon as they give you gold and silver, then you're admitting that they're the sovereign.
Okay, so in that situation, you would advise more to just take the fiat and then, take the fiat. Then in that case, when it's a case like a corporation and you're in a case with them when you sue them.
No, you're not. If you're gonna go to their court to sue them, you're not getting gold and silver. Period.
So that's all.
So
you would get the fiat. So you just take the fiat then, brother.
Yeah, I mean if that's what they're given. I mean, what else is there? And you could do whatever with the fiat after, whether it's transfer it to gold and silver after or whatever. But
yeah, that's right. Give thanks. So that's why I throw that question out there.
Right. Yeah, just to add on to what Cujo was saying, that's exactly what I was going to say. Take the fiat and go buy gold and silver. It's that simple.
Yeah. When it comes to the divine angel, what the mother was talking about, as rise of Empress Reese, beautiful. I love how she does stuff for my soul. I would say Empress Khalifa, she and Kojo is like militant type of the lawful one, and Empress Reese, she kind of talk from a divine spiritual connection.
Yo, I'm militant. Yo.
Well, you're not too militant, but because you know the laws, you know the law, so you kind of give the law, you give us a way to balance it. But I can hear with Empress Reese, she talk from her soul, like. Yeah, I can hear her. She's really passionate, and I can feel that. So it's a different. So yeah, I would say you could be one of the army generals for the females, for the mothers.
So wait, I'm in the Cujo category. I don't know. I gotta go to some Cujo classes. I don't like cussing people out on film, but I can do it. But that's that part of the, what I'm saying. But I haven't heard that, but I will take that feedback for the Icon.
That's where I come in. When they not listening to you, telling them the law, that's where I come in. That's the mother. You know what I mean? Because Cujo can't cuss out a woman. So that's where I come in.
Oh, my God. I'm done. Say something, Sheldon. Say something, Sheldon. Cuss me. Cuss me, Sheldon. What you going to say?
To be cussed down.
Beautiful.
That's right. I think, that's what I'll start calling them now. Yo, cuss them.
Yeah, Cujo don't cuss them out, man. Because they don't afraid to cuss them out. Definitely, you don't hide that. Bull, it's the bull charging, Fix up.
Wait a minute. So hold on, Icon. So if I hadn't got on that brother's behind, I wouldn't have been militant. So if I didn't show that side of you, you wouldn't have thought I was militant, would you?
You know what? You was there dealing with him. Empress was on the lineup because I was just in the show when he started talking, and then I'm glad Empress jumped in and sorted off. But I heard you and I'm thinking, wow, okay, I'm seeing a different side to you, Empress Khalifa. So I was there. You dealt with it properly, and the way you screwed them up, he had to just jump off the line. Like he just jumped off straight away. But from he came on, first of all, he advertised about 8 different sites, didn't he?
That's why I was like, who's going to 8 different? I'm like, dude, what do you have to offer? Like, and that's what I told the sis. I was saying, okay, yeah, you have a product or a service that you're offering. Leave Taj out of it. And if you do want to call Taj out, then be specific and say something. But that's what he was studying. He was stuttering and stuff. He wasn't really. I don't know what he was talking about.
Almost a PR stunt. Like a PR stunt. Because as soon as he came on the platform, he advertised the 8 website that he had. And then he went in the conversation. So, like some people was just waiting for a platform to kind of put the message. And I think it kind of chose Taj in there to kind of made a twist to kind of draw some attention to himself. I don't know. People kind of do that to get followers. I don't know. It's a PR stunt.
Well, he got a militant side. I mean, I don't like to show it often, but it's there. Just everybody know it's there.
You saw the properly, definitely. Let's get these messages. Right, Brother Coach, I don't know if you have to go now before you go. I don't know if you want to leave anything because you say you have to go, Brother Coach. So peace and love. Give thanks, brother. I love how this platform is building and getting stronger and stronger. And it's just, the conversation with us rising. So beautiful, brother. But if you have to go, I need to leave something with everyone on the platform. Peace and love.
Peace and love, more Islam.
Islam, brother. Thank you for all your work.
Take care, Islam.
Salam nu custom. We'll talk soon, bro.
I love it. All right, let's get these messages from our Empress. Yes, but Empress, I love how you took told the conversation. The way you jumped in the other day with the brother. That's what I love when the mothers are around, When the mothers are around, everything just balanced and beautiful. Islam, peace and love for the mothers.
So, Empress Bay, you bring up a good point, and I've kind of thought about that as well because on the shows that I do, my sister and I, we talk about that, that when these families take these settlements, especially before these criminal trials take place, but something that I really didn't take into account is that a lot of times these families